Vegan's not an option. Get him something from Amazon.com. Get the best deals on everything you need and help support Rob as a Podcast whenever you start your shopping at robhasawebsite.com/Amazon, or for our friends in Canada, robhasawebsite.com/AmazonCA. Coming to you live from my apartment, which is the studio. It's Rob Has a Podcast, and now here's the guy who never stops for mandatory relaxation, Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rob Has a Podcast after week number 4/5 of Survivor. It was a 2-hour Survivor event this past Wednesday, and 2 really exciting episodes of the show. And I am very excited because I'm starting to feel like we are at the point in the Survivor season where I think that we're sort of like at the top of the roller coaster, and I think that things are about to start to really get crazy for the rest of the way. And that's making me very excited to talk about how this is all going to play out here for the rest of the season. So I think we're at the precipice of something very exciting. Not to say that this last 2-hour event was not very good. I think it was the highest point of the season, but now I think we're about to go to the point where things are just going to start to get really crazy, and I feel like this is going to be a very exciting merge this season. So I'm pumped up to talk about it here with you guys. We've got a great show here today. We're going to start with Dale and Kelley Wentworth. So that's going to be very fun to catch up with Dale and Kelley, and then I'm going to get into your voicemails in this show with my friend Ryan Elder, who is the composer for Rick and Morty, which is the Adult Swim cartoon from the Cartoon Network. He also writes a lot of the jingles, which you hear on Rob Has a Podcast. So excited to talk to him about what you guys are having to say here on the podcast. Of course, we did our Survivor Know-It-Alls on Wednesday night. Of course, that's on robhasawebsite.com. And then I did my exit interview with both Lindsay and Max, and I thought that Lindsay was very fun to talk to. I thought that she was way more into talking about the game than I thought she might have been, so that was a pleasant surprise. And Max also has had a lot of interesting things to say. And of course, every week I talk to the players who get kicked off. You can always hear those at robhasawebsite.com or by subscribing to the podcast at robhasawebsite.com/iTunes, or even jumping on the Rob Has a Podcast app, which is available for Android or iOS at robhasawebsite.com/app. We have a lot going on in the world of Rob Has a Podcast. We are kicking off our Big Brother Canada 3 coverage this week. I've been getting a lot of questions from people. Are you covering Big Brother Canada 3 this season? Yes. Yes, I am, sir or ma'am. We are covering Big Brother Canada 3 here on the podcast. And so I will get into our first preview of Big Brother Canada 3 on Friday night live with Mike Bloom, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, so we'll get a page up for that. Very excited for Rob Has a Podcast's coverage of Big Brother Canada 3. For a lot of reasons, Big Brother Canada is also very fun. We have a person who is a longtime Rob Has a Podcast fan competing on the show, so that's going to be very exciting to watch. And of course, lots of twists always come along on Big Brother Canada. So more on that tomorrow. We also have a new Survivor video that I put together. We've been working on the campaign for the Podcast Awards, and we've been having people vote daily for Podcast Awards for Rob Has a Podcast at podcastawards.com, nominated for Best Entertainment Podcast and People's Choice Podcast of the Year, which is really the top honor in podcasting, and we've been actively campaigning for that. I just put out a new video which is going to feature a lot of familiar faces, which you may know from Survivor. If you want to check out my new video where some survivors are going to tell you to stick to the plan and vote RHAP, you can check that out. Go to robhasawebsite.com/time to vote. robhasawebsite.com/time to vote. And of course, you can cast your votes daily at podcastawards.com through Tuesday the 24th. All right, everybody, I'm very excited because we are having another double guest here on the podcast on an episode where we had a double boot. We needed 2 survivors to help us break this down. From Survivor San Juan del Sur, the father and daughter team. Here they are. It's Dale and Kelley Wentworth.
Hello, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing
Very good.
I'm doing well.
Very
We're
good.
doing well.
Very
Glad to
good.
be here.
All right. So Kelley, we talked to you all through Miss Survivor. You had a deep run into Miss Survivor. You were right there. Dale, we haven't spoken to you in a while. How are you doing, Dale?
A lot better because last time you talked to me, I just got voted off, so I've recovered since then, so I'm doing great.
Good. Well, happy to have you guys both back. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, you guys are both in Washington, but you guys live separate. Don't live that close together, right?
A couple 100 miles apart, yes.
Okay. Dale, do you want Kelley to move closer to home?
Oh, well, absence makes a heart grow fonder.
Thanks, Dad.
No, distance isn't, a short drive for me is 100 miles, so add another 100 on to visit her is no problem at all.
Okay, good. Well, let's get into this because you guys were both very much affected by the tribe swap last season. So this was good timing to have you guys on the podcast to talk about a tribe swap this season. And we'll get through everything into last night's episode. But first off, am I correct in assuming, Dale, you would be a blue-collar survivor? Is that accurate?
Yes, I think I would fit into that one pretty good.
Yes. And Kelley, would you be white-collar?
I probably would be put on white collar just because of my profession. But, they put people wherever they want to stick them, so I don't know.
Wherever they want to put them. And Dale, do you feel like you would get along good with these blue-collar survivors?
That'd be a good question. I think Rodney and I would be going head to head pretty good, just like him and Dan or Mike. He's a blue collar, but a meathead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There are no sorries on this show, Dad.
That's true. I guess I could get along with him working with my hands. I'm used to working with tools, so Rodney would be a good tool to use.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
What I want to know is, I saw in the episode last night, Shireen talked about how she got ready for Survivor she started slaughtering chickens, and that she went then and to a farmer to learn how to slaughter an animal, and a farmer taught her how to slaughter a rabbit. Dale, were you the farmer that taught Shireen how to slaughter the rabbit?
No, because I went way past slaughtering rabbits. That's kind of funny. You got to applaud her effort. That's doing your homework, and that's a lot more homework than half the people that we dealt with who couldn't even figure out a fire. So I'll give her props for doing it.
Yeah. Kelley, could you slaughter the chicken if you needed to?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because when I was watching, I couldn't watch them put the chicken down and then take the machete and do that whole thing. But when you're out there, you're so hungry. We were eating the grossest things, so probably if I was out there, I would have to do it because you're just starving.
Except I got one question. Why did they kill the chicken and not the rooster?
Because they had 3.
Yeah, but still, 3 chickens give you more eggs than 1 rooster. Rooster's just going to sit there and say, well, thank God it wasn't me.
I don't know that.
The chickens always make things interesting on Survivor. That's one surefire thing through 30 seasons of this show. Anytime they bring chickens into the mix, there's always going to be something interesting that happens. That's true. Okay, so let's talk about this tribe swap from last night. Now, they did the tribe swap definitely differently in your season, where they sort of it was. How did they do it? Did they separate? Was it men pick buffs from here or women pick buffs from here? They did something special with you were picking a certain number of buffs, right? Kelley, could you explain how that went?
Yeah, well, we were just sitting up in the Heroes Arena or whatever the hell they called it last season.
Yeah.
And then, Jeff said, drop your buffs. And then he tossed both tribes a bag. And then we just drew randomly from each of our bags.
Got it.
So 2 bags, yeah.
Yeah, so the tribes had a certain number of buffs that were certain colors. So you couldn't have had a situation where, 5 Hunapu people stayed together and one person went to the other tribe. So they sort of did that better. Is that a better way to do it than how we just leave it to chance? Because it does feel like we always get a situation where one whole tribe ends up staying together and one person is gone. Kelley, do you like that?
I mean, maybe I just don't like tribe swaps because I was kind of a victim to one, but I just think the last 2 seasons, it hasn't really turned out that well. I mean, looking at this tribe swap, you have 6 dudes and Sierra, who's so tall, she's like a man. I mean, not really, but you know. And then you have the tribe, which is
careful. You should have learned from Nadia on that.
I take it back. So I don't know. The tribe swaps in general, sometimes I'm not a huge fan of, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird how it plays out because you wouldn't think that would happen, and it seems to happen every time.
Yeah, Dale, are you sour on tribe swaps?
Well, this one is just. Yes, I'm very sour on it because first glance at this one, you felt sorry for Kelley because she left her alliance. Kelley on the Worlds Apart, she left her alliance, but then she went into the swing vote, so she sought after. But geez, it's just a testosterone fired blue collar tribe now. It's all guys and physical challenge. It looks like they're going to clean house on them. So you have boys against girls just about on this from the tribe swap. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But the blue guys, they've got a definite advantage when it comes to challenges.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. And it's not even like in Survivor San Juan del Sur where we had like one tribe. Like it didn't look like on paper, Hunapu versus Cleopa was too much of a mismatch. It was somewhat, looked kind of even. Is that fair to say, Dale?
Well, John and it was the 2 old guys and John against all the young guys.
Yeah.
So there was quite an age group on ours that happened, and Hunapu got all the young guys. They got the Jeremys, the Reed, the Josh, the West. So there was a young versus old type, and John was the only guy. And then, I was talking about the guys. I wasn't talking about the girls. So I thought there was a definite disadvantage for Cleopa, but this one that happened now is just, I mean, it's so obvious. Even Jeff was mentioning it during the challenge because it's kind of a useless challenge just for the fact of how clean and was that bad planning by the red tribe, just how they pulled the sled and stuff. So, it's tribe swaps suck.
Jeff did seem a little bit like it was just, predetermined. He's just like, predictably.
Yeah.
He was really like, it seemed like maybe he was like against the tribe swap in the first place. However, as much as like we see a lot of times people get screwed up by this tribe swap, I do think it makes for a better show. Of course, present company excluded. But I think what it does is that I think it really does help with their, avoiding sort of what we saw in sort of like the Redemption Island and South Pacific seasons where one tribe just sort of, sticks together all the way through. And, it doesn't always prevent it. Like we talked about in last night with this Survivor One World swap that was brought up by Max, where we had one tribe with the misfits of, Colton and Leaf and Tarzan. And it just so happened that most of Kim's alliance ended up swapping to one tribe, that she still had Chelsea, she still had Sabrina. I think she may have lost Alicia, but she still had Kat. And so she was able to keep her group strong enough that they just came back together right after the merge. So I do think in most seasons a tribe swap does help prevent there just being one side just totally get picked off after the merge. So
it takes away the predictability pretty much, because if before the tribe swap you would have thought that Dan and Mike and Kelley and Rodney they were going to rule their tribe, which they were. They had a block of 4. Now all of a sudden, with the tribe swap, it looks like Dan and Mike are on the outs, because now you got a bromance going between Rodney and Joaquin, and they might swing to the other side. So it took a predictable alliance and blew it apart.
Yeah. So do you feel like the show shouldn't have the tribe swap anymore? I know that you guys are both very affected by it, but as a viewer, would you like to see them get rid of it, Dale?
Oh, man. It's... in some ways, yes. Because it destroys... For a player, yes. For a person who's been on the game, because it destroys your alliances 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks into the game, it destroys your alliances, and alliances are so tough to build in in that game. And this one happened very early in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm against them.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, like, as a player, if it doesn't go in your favor, yes, of course you're against them because you could have been in a great spot. I mean, in San Juan del Sur, I was in a decent spot, and John Mish actually was on the bottom. Well, look what happened in the tribe swap. He suddenly got, all this power, which he wouldn't have had if he didn't have that. But I think as a viewer, it's very interesting, and it also tests people's abilities to fit in with other people and make new alliances, which is interesting to watch. In a Blood versus Water season, it's a lot more difficult because you have those pairs, and so it's maybe not as fun. But I think with individuals, it makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, the Blood versus Water thing is tricky because the idea of the tribe swap that's exciting is that nobody knows anybody, and then
exactly.
now you have to now you get to work with people from the other side, whereas in the Blood versus Water season, it's like now people are reunited with their loved ones and pair, and so it makes it a little wonkier with the swap. But I think on face value, I do think that the swap is a good thing. Even though I used to probably be a little bit more of like, oh, I love the swap, always need the swap, and now after watching so many seasons of Survivor in this 30-season rewatch that I'm doing, the swap really has screwed some people along the way. But I would love to hear from you guys. How much do you feel like was Max Dawson screwed by the swap, and how much of it? I asked this to Steven last night. How much was he screwed by the swap, and how much was he screwed up by his own social game? I'll start with Dale because he will not pull any punches.
He was screwed up by number one as a expert on this by mouthing off about how much you know off Survivor. You put a target on your back as wide as the beach you're sitting on, and him and Sharon both were just bragging about. Naming the astrological signs that people had been voted off the island. Dude, you need to take a vacation from Survivor. He's an Uber fan, and that put a mark on it. And then the swap just put the extra exclamation point on it.
Okay, Kelley, what is your take on this?
Well, I mean, if you look at that swap, it looks like they were in an okay position because they had 3 white collar, and then you're going to try and pull in Kelley, which, Shireen was working on. But I think that this all started way before that, with the naked thing, with the, just all these other shenanigans. And, Carolyn, pegged it even before the swap when she said, Shireen is following Max and everything he does. I mean, that's just stupidity on their part. Like, I was very close with Natalie and Jeremy and, a couple other people, but there were times where it was like, okay, I don't want to talk to this person for a bit because it shouldn't be so obvious. And if it is, I mean, you've seen pairs in the past where people are like, someone's got to go because those two, it's a block of 2 votes. So I think it was just not smart.
It's exactly like, it would be exactly like, to some degree, a loved one. You see 2 people that are so close, and, obviously when Kelley and I played, you automatically knew that when we got together it was going to be a close vote. Missy and Baylor, John and Jacqueline, same thing. You try and split that. So Sharon and Max, the same thing. They were almost, on the loved ones, I wouldn't say that, but they almost were that strong a pair. You had to do something to break them apart. So it was an automatic or a quick think or easy vote to try and break up that couple.
And they were being annoying, which just helped, right? Because people, I think Haley said it or something about, I don't remember what she said exactly, but it's like you want to keep the tribe unified. And, if you have those 2 people that are annoying everybody, that's such an easy way to target somebody. It's like, they're annoying me, so I'm going to get them out. So beyond them being a tight pair, they should have toned it down. It was just way, way too much.
And usually everybody's looking for any excuse whatsoever to put a target on somebody's back. And if you start being annoying on top of it, it just puts you the next step closer to being voted out.
Now, Kelley, this was brought up on your season that Drew Christie, badass himself, talking about how you were a threat because you had seen every season and every episode of the show.
So, basically, I'm a badass.
And he's a badass.
I love that.
And that's a very badass way to play the game, going at somebody that's seen all of the shows. Now, how did he know that you knew every episode of the show?
Well, I'm glad you asked me this, and I will start out by saying that I noticed last week when Jen said at Tribal Council, I've seen every season, and I can't believe I'm here. No one was getting mad at her for saying that, okay? So Max and Shireen were way over the top. Knowing people's astrological signs is just, it's creepy. I'm sorry. But so for me, when we were at camp, I was a fan, Reed was a fan, Jeremy was a fan, a couple of the people, even we talked with Missy about like One World. And so it's just, you have so much downtime, it just comes up and you talk about like, we think there's a tribe swap coming and it happened in Gabon or whatever it is. It just naturally came out. And I personally don't think we were talking about it so much that it should have been a threat. Like we shouldn't have been a threat to somebody, or me, but for someone, I guess, who had never seen the season, it was. But I don't think that myself and Reed and Jeremy and whoever else were talking about it that much. It just kind of naturally came up, and I guess it was too much for some people.
Yeah. I mean, Dale, what do you do about, if you are a big fan of the show? And, I know you're a fan of these shows, but not to the degree, certainly, which Max and Shireen are. Would you be threatened by, if you were in a tribe with somebody? And I know you don't have to worry about that because most of the people that were on your tribe never even saw Survivor before.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that.
I would welcome somebody who's a super fan because playing with a bunch of dim light bulbs is not very easy. You go up and talk strategy and you get the 1,000-yard stare in their eyes and they go, well, I don't know, just don't vote for me. I don't care what we do. It's frustrating to the 10th degree to play with that type of non-entity, I guess. So,
that many.
That many of them, yes. Yeah. One or two isn't bad. You're a goat, so you can take it. But when you're one person in a tribe of goats, it's pretty tough. But Josh and I got along good. Josh was a super fan, so I could talk to him. But Wes and Alec was just, it was tough. So I would rather play with a super fan because you could enjoy the game playing with them. And that would be the beauty of it, is playing with a Max. I mean, he's obviously on the wrong superfan deluxe, but still, I would welcome a chance to play with that because you could talk strategy with him. And we were faced with somebody where you couldn't talk strategy with anybody. I could with Josh a little bit, but that was about it.
Were you guys surprised that it was Max that was the person that got voted out last night instead of Shireen? Because I really was, considering that Shireen not only seemed to be somebody who was getting on their nerves, but I just feel like Max is going to be more of a help in the challenges than Shireen is going to be. Even though, in fairness to Shireen, she's done well in some of the swimming challenges that we've seen her in. Dale, did that surprise you?
The thing that surprised me, or the thing that instantly put up the red flashing light when Max was walking away from the immunity challenge and he goes, I'm looking forward to going to tribal tonight. And that says, okay, you're thinking too much or you're trying to be too much, because nobody wants to go to tribal. Surprises happen at tribal and they're never good. So to look forward to it is not a good thing, because good things never happen at tribal. Yeah. And so was he looking forward? Did he throw the challenge? There's all sorts of things you could read into that comment.
I don't think he threw the challenge.
I don't think he did. I mean, they just got their butts kicked left and right. Yeah. There was none of that. But why would he be looking forward? He's too confident as a super fan. You should not go into tribal being that confident, because blindsides happen to everybody. Maybe he was just more annoying than Shireen. That's why he got sent home. So I don't know. That's the thing that threw me last night, is when he made that comment that God, you shouldn't be that confident going into a tribal, especially right after a swap.
Yeah, Kelley, and you played with Drew Christie, who I believe also wanted to go to tribal council, right?
He did, to cut the head off the snake, which I believe is what Carolyn called Max.
I believe that's said in every single episode of Survivor that was ever made. Even though in the first hour they did literally cut the head off the snake.
Yep, that's it.
Gosh, gross. Can I say something? So I initially thought it would be Shireen going home, just because she seemed like the more annoying of the two. But then I did rewatch it, and there was that comment from Carolyn where she did say that, Shireen follows Max. So there must have been a conversation between those five where she mentioned that to them and said, let's get rid of Max because Shireen is following him, and maybe he was more kind of influential and could change people's minds. So to me, that's why they probably got rid of him over Shireen.
Okay. In terms of Max's knowledge of the show, do you feel like knowing as much about Survivor, Kelley, do you feel like it is a detriment to know that much? Like, do you feel like you could have too much knowledge about Survivor, let alone, like, sharing it? Do you think, is it possible to have just information overload and, is it better to come into the game just knowing a little bit about Survivor instead of knowing everything about Survivor?
I initially, before I went on the show, thought it would be such a bonus to have watched every season and to know everything. But I do think now that it caused me to be a little more paranoid in my season because I had seen so many episodes and I had seen all these scenarios and you can't trust anybody, and I almost think it is beneficial to have only seen a season or two and to kind of go into the game not playing all those scenarios out in your head. I do think there are benefits to being a fan because you can kind of sense some of those things more than other people, but it's I almost think it is better to not be a super fan.
Dale, you agree with that?
Yes, because you can overthink the dang game. And when you know the birth dates of everybody who's won, and you've got them categorized and that sort of stuff, you've overthought the game just a little much, dude. You got to leave a little bit in your brain for life.
I know.
So you need to accept the game for what it is, but you can't overthink it because if you bury yourself so much in the previous 29 season, you forget exactly what's happening in your season. If you try and play worlds apart or this season like One World or All-Stars or fans versus favorites, something like that, because the personalities are different in this game. So it can be, and as we found out, it hurts you quite a bit by being such a Survivor nerd.
I think people are going to find this shocking that I'm going to say this, but I think I actually agree with this because, if you take a look at people who have done very well at this game, very few of them are people that just know the show backwards and forwards. And I do think that there's a little bit of just sort of like, not to bring up baseball too much, Dale, but I do think that there's a little bit of like, you're better off sort of like, see the ball, hit the ball rather than, studying hours and hours of tape on every single pitcher. And I think that there is a little bit where you want to know the game, you want to know like, oh, okay, sometimes they do this, sometimes they do this. But I think just like having just such a knowledge base, because just having all that information is just an invitation to be talking about it, and you could drive people nuts.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because like, say, if, like you get asked, who's your favorite player? Well, I like this player, this player. Well, if you try and imitate that player, you're doomed to failure because he was playing his game based on the personalities and the people on that season, the lack of food, the weather, everything that goes into Survivor. And it's not like you can go in and plan the game because Survivor moves so fast, and that's what most people, until you've played it, you don't realize how fast the game actually goes. And so you have to adapt to situations. So you have to have a knowledge of the game and the strategy and stuff, but to be that into depth, I think can be a detriment to you.
Now, let me ask you guys, what's your astrological sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Gemini.
Yeah, I'm a Pisces.
Pisces, okay. Let me look this up. Okay, Gemini. I'm looking at an old thread about this. I don't see.
Oh, jeez.
Pisces. Oh, Bob Crowley and Brian Heidick both are Pisces winners.
Oh, winner, chicken dinner. There you go.
Well, I brought down the average, didn't I? Speaking of baseball.
Now, do you think that Shireen is in a lot of trouble going forward now, Kelley?
Oh gosh! I mean, did you see her face at Tribal? She was totally shocked.
Totally shocked.
Yeah, I think
Alec Christie face almost.
Oh, come on! Don't do that to Shireen.
She's at least thinking. Okay. I think, yeah. I mean, if you look at that tribe, it seems like the three no-callers and Kelley and Carolyn are together, and Shireen is totally on the outs. Unless she can find a way to, I don't know, work with Carolyn and Kelley to go against the other three, because maybe they see them as a threat going into the merge. I don't know, but I would say she probably is in pretty big trouble.
Yeah, the look on her face was just, I mean, that was a truck that came and hit him last on the tribal council, and with Carolyn making the swap like that, they thought they had Carolyn in the bag, and apparently stuff happened earlier, or there's a lot of bad blood behind him before the tribe swap, and Carolyn's carrying it over, and she jumped tribes. I mean, that's the beauty of the tribe swap. Goes back to that. It gives you a chance to play a new game, and what you said in the previous 2 weeks is coming back to haunt you in the way of a knife in the back.
Now, Dale, what do you think of this move for Carolyn? And I'd like to know if you feel like you can relate to her at all as sort of being the person who's, the oldest person that's in a group with people that are younger than you, and what, the difficulties of sort of like getting in with a group in the game like Survivor.
I have sympathy for anybody who's past the age of, 35, because apparently we're geriatric idiots on the show. But come on, guys, wait till you're our age, and you're going to find out. But anyhow, the bad thing is she's going to be on the out. She's got rid of two of her. She's on the track to get two of her past tribe mates, which would have been her friends, and she's going to be on the out with the younger ones because she's still down on numbers. And those three will eventually turn on her. Depends on how far they make it in before they do the merge. So I know what she's trying to fight against and trying herself in with the young ones, but she's got three that are eventually going to look at her. She's from another tribe. We don't need her. We're just using her for a vote. So does she try and mend the fences with Sharon now and get back on even votes? I don't know. It's going to be tough for her. The age thing is just, I hate to see it used in Survivor, but it's such a common thing. Get rid of the old person first. They can't compete in challenges. Well, you look at Keith. He was only off by my age by 6 months, and he killed it in the individual awards last year. So, or Carolyn, not Sharon. Carolyn, as the age thing, it's going to be tough for her to fight those three younger people once it gets down on numbers.
Yeah. And Kelley, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we don't know. There's only probably another vote or two before the merge. So, blue collar has a ton of people left, and white, no collar, has 4 people. Blue collar is 5. 5. So white collar essentially has the least amount of people left. So if she can get in with these 3 people, the no collars, and kind of ride with them to the end, that might be okay. But she's certainly not going back to white collar. I mean, Joaquin and Tyler are probably going to do their own thing now, or maybe they'll go back together. Those 3. I think she'll be okay if they win. If they don't win, I would say it would be Shireen and then probably her. But she has an idol.
Do you guys feel like she has a chance, though, to, do anything this season, Carolyn? Like, I know that she's sort of...
What do you mean?
Well, I feel like, though, that it seems like she doesn't really have, a ton of connections. Like, I feel like she's seemingly not in a great spot, but don't you just feel like that you're just going to wake up, it's the final 4, and she's still there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's totally going to be like Missy. Like, I swear, she has an idol, so that's great.
But with all due respect to Missy, I feel like that I think she will fare better than Missy. Like, I think if anything that, I feel like she may just get herself in trouble. I don't think that she can control her emotions. Like, I feel like that she's an emotional player. Even though I think she's a strong, she's a savvy, strategic player, I feel like her mouth is going to get her in trouble, though, eventually.
It depends on how quick she can learn the game. Because, like I say, once you're in there, you learn a little bit, and I think she can, be in by herself, just kind of because she's distanced herself from some of the other white collars, that she could be drugged around a little bit just for that reason. So, yeah, she could just, by accident, be drugged quite a ways in the game.
Yeah.
If she can, like I say, she found the idol, so that's in her favor, so she knows how to play the game. Now can she fit in with the new tribe, the young kids and stuff, make it to the merge, and maybe tie back up with Tyler? Who I think is going to be a force in the game.
Interesting. Let's talk about that other tribe a little bit. And let's talk about the first version of it first, and then we'll talk about what's going on in the new version. Because that decision last night I thought was very curious. And in some ways, just tying it back to Blood versus Water, you had Lindsay and Sierra who were a tight two. And they could have either voted out one out of that tight two, and, on the plus side, you split up a pair, or they could have voted out Rodney and kept those two people in the fold and in the good graces of the other people in the blue-collar tribe. So, Kelley, let me start with you. Did you agree with that decision to vote out Lindsay last night over Rodney?
Yeah, I think it was an interesting choice. I mean, clearly Rodney was getting on everyone's nerves, and it would have been very easy to get rid of him. I think that those four, Kelley, Dan, Mike, and Rodney, must have been a little bit closer than we saw, because they obviously had a plan in place to split the votes like that. I think they should have gotten rid of Rodney, because now look at the Sierra situation, and they've totally alienated her and she's over it. So I would have personally gotten rid of Rodney, also because I wouldn't not have gotten along with him.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Well, Kelley, would you have gotten in Rodney's face about the kind of stuff? Yeah.
No, that's the difference, right? So as I'm watching it, I kind of had flashbacks of like me and Drew. Not so aggressive, but Drew did not act so polite either, and maybe didn't say things quite that bad. But I mean, you remember some of the things that he was saying about the women. So I kind of had flashbacks, but the difference is that I didn't go off like Lindsay did. I just kind of kept my cool and kind of held it back a little bit. So I think that definitely got her in big trouble. And there was even a moment where Kelley was in the water talking to the other three, and she was saying, Lindsay's like the most respectful person, or something along those lines. So I think there was more that we didn't see, that was going on with her.
Yeah. Gail, did you agree with that decision?
Yeah, Rodney would have been an easy vote. I mean, it's kind of hard to isolate because you look at what happened with the tribe swap. Because if they would have got rid of Rodney in the tribe swap, then Sierra and Lindsay would have went, and then Mike and Kelley, or Mike and Dan would have really been on the out. So, Lindsay did a blow up over morals, which in Survivor you don't have morals. That's why you're there. You're trying to lie, cheat, and steal. So. But yeah, Rodney to go off on tattoos, complaining about Lindsay's tattoos when he's got tattoos. I mean, come on. He was my obvious vote to get off, just for the fact that he was being a complete tool in the game. I mean, he was, but they were trying to break up the two-girl vote. And I don't know. I was surprised. I thought Rodney would have been going home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Rodney ultimately stays in the game. Sierra ends up getting upset, and, you see what happens with, Dan and Rodney sort of like reading her the riot act. What's your take of Dan as the representative of the older guys this season?
I like Dan to begin with. But man, that guy goes from one extreme to the other. Who hasn't he pissed off yet? He's pissed off Rodney. He's went after Sierra and that sort of stuff. And he goes, you suck at the challenge, all this sort of stuff. And then, oh gosh, we need your vote. Now you got to apologize. People don't take apologies very well on Survivor.
But he didn't apologize.
Well, yeah, not really. I mean, he goes, I did to you what you did to me, only I did it worse to you, so we're even. That doesn't work very well. I mean, and I think, and now
hold on, Dale, though.
Okay.
Since when are you now the authority on how to apologize to people on Survivor?
Oh, well, that I shouldn't, because I never apologized.
Maybe Dan could teach you a thing or two.
Maybe so, but we'll see if his apology is accepted. I meant Survivor apologies don't mean squat, because they have a way of coming back and bite you at Tribal. So I didn't apologize for everything I did. It was deliberate, with thought.
Maybe I should have answered this.
But here's the thing about apologies to me. It's like you don't have to mean it. I don't understand.
True.
Like you're playing a game about lying and deception. Like, why can't these people just apologize and not mean it? And just say, oh, Sierra, I'm so sorry. You were right. I was wrong. And then just say in the confessional, like, it's the ideal time for an insincere apology, because not only do you get to do the insincere apology, you get to then say on camera, like, I didn't mean it when I made that apology. I just said it so that they would,
it is Survivor, and everybody knows when you walk up and apologize to somebody, they're still lying to your face.
Yeah, but Dan wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, and everybody knows. You see through the apologies like nobody's business. They don't apologize. You did it on purpose. I'm not gonna trust you again. So,
yeah, but the difference with Dan is that, like Rob is saying, he could have at least apologized. And if Sierra doesn't believe it, she doesn't believe it. She probably wouldn't. But the fact that he tried to turn it into, well, you did this to me, so I did this to you. That's so much worse, right? I mean, it's almost worse than not even apologizing, because then it just kind of, he tried to turn it on her, which doesn't work with anyone ever. Whether it be friends, family, relationships. So that was like the worst thing to do. And Mike even told him, like, just say sorry. And he still was just so egotistical. He's like, yeah, I can do it my way. He's just like, come on, Dan.
Yeah, I agree. His apology was like, okay, here's my apology why I did it, and then I'm going to do it again to you.
Yeah. Well, Dan says that he's an expert in dealing with women. Everybody on this tribe is an expert dealing with women. Mike, Dan, and Rodney.
Oh my God.
Oh, what is that? What is he, an older Drew?
Yeah, they're all good at dealing with women. I thought that was so funny when Dan was like Mike is like, no, you got to tell him. And he's like, listen, I've talked to women for, like, who do you think you are telling me how to talk to women? I know everything.
Yeah.
Really funny.
Anybody who says that automatically counts against, and I like Mike too, but anytime he goes, I know how to deal with women, okay, strike one.
Right.
That's like someone who says that they have all this money and then they drive a nice car, but then they live at home. They're like, yeah, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have skills. Come on. It's just like, you don't know.
Yeah.
You think you know, but you don't.
How about Rodney also? Rodney said last night that he is Tom Brady.
Don't even go there.
He's Tom Brady.
For Alex, or?
So what do you think that Tom Brady and Rodney have a lot in common now?
Yeah, about as much as I instead of Tom Brady, he's more like Dudley Do-Right. They have absolutely nothing in common. Sorry,
he wants to be like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Not like Tom Brady. He wants to be so badly.
So who is the Russell Wilson of Survivor this season?
Oh, I don't think there's anybody on there that compares. Sorry.
I mean, you have to say Joe, right? Come on.
Joe is the Russell Wilson?
I mean, if the people there.
I'm going to go with Tyler. Tyler's impressed me. He's calm, calculating. He's taking his weapons in. He's collecting the castaways. Tyler is playing a very subtle game, and he's quarterbacking. He's managing the game. So if you want to go from a true manager like Russell Wilson, Tyler is the one. He's talking to the people. Okay, this person pissed him off. I'm going to go calm him down and bring him into my tribe. So I would go with Tyler.
Okay, I still say Joaquin is the Mark Sanchez of the season.
We know you look like it.
Yeah.
So he's going to get cut by every tribe after 1 or 2 weeks.
Yes.
He'll be crying soon.
All right, so now going forward, we have Sierra in this very interesting spot, a la Kelley in the formerly blue-collar Kelley, with the new red tribe. So she's in a spot where she can stick with her old tribe, or she can jump to the other side. Kelley, what do you think Sierra is going to do? Do you think that she will stay loyal, or is it going to be too delicious to burn the people that wronged her and go with these other groups?
Oh, Joaquin and Rodney will be too delicious for her not to work with. I don't. She's not sticking with blue collar. I don't think. I think they burned that bridge too badly. And again, Dan didn't apologize. Like, there's all these things that they could have kind of mended before the swap, and it didn't happen. And so I think just the way she was complaining to those other three guys, I think that she will definitely jump ship if they go to tribal.
Yeah. Gail, are you on board with that? She'll jump ship?
Yeah, I think she will. I think there was a lot of conflict with blue collar and that sort of stuff, and they were just trying. The only reason she bonded with the guys because she didn't tie up too much with Sierra and Lindsay. A little bit of age thing and that sort of stuff. And once they get to the new tribe, she'll leave the old blue collar alone.
Yeah,
and we'll go back to it.
I think it's one of those things you have to either do it or don't do it. Like, I don't think you can do the flirtation thing because at the second that you put it out there, hey, I want to vote with you guys, and then you take it back and say, psych, on second thought, I think I'm going to stay with my original group. Like, you give the other people now the right to go in and say, hey, do you know that, Sierra was telling us that she was going to vote with us? And so you sort of like open that door, and it's a bit of a problem.
It's like we went with Dan's apology scenario. If you're going to sell something, sell it, and sell it with your heart and soul. You can't go out there halfway with a lie.
Yeah.
Or, if halfway with, you've got to be in it heart and soul and follow through all the way till you fall on your sword. And so, she's going to jump ship, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was also telling them everything, which I don't think I would have done.
No.
But I think she was just very emotional about it. This obviously happened right after their tribal, a day or something after, so it was still fresh in her mind. But I think she would have been better off kind of feeling everybody out and seeing like what the other people were thinking, or she doesn't know if those other two white collars are together, or who's maybe one of them wants to jump ship. So I think it was a little bit too soon for her to just be like revealing everything. But we'll see how it plays out.
Because it puts you in potentially the bad position of if both sides come together and say, well, let's just take out the swing vote. You do put yourself out there a little bit. Like, she's not necessarily, I don't think, better off strategically, or I guess it's debatable whether or not she's on the bottom of either alliance, but
right.
Is she putting her position, which is potentially safe at this point, into jeopardy by doing this flirtation with the other tribe? Like, what does she ultimately gain out of that? I guess we could say that we could argue that she knows she's at the bottom of the blue collar tribe, and the other tribe, her position is unknown and potentially could be better, but could also be at the bottom.
Well, and Kelley's in the same position as like Carolyn. You'd look at it from one point, okay, she already jumped ship and went after her old tribe, so we know you start questioning the loyalty. Because, even coming into the new tribe, okay, she jumped ship from this one, will she jump ship back again? So, once you've put that out there that you're willing to jump from one tribe or one alliance to another, it's always in the back of somebody's mind is, okay, she can't be trusted 100%.
But I don't think, she's in a bad spot with blue collar, right? So even if they make the merge and they all go together, they might bring her along, but she's not winning. So I think, for me, I don't think I would have sat there and talked to all three of those guys together about my sob story and what was going on. I think I would feel people out and then maybe take someone aside and see where they were at. I don't know. I mean, you don't know unless you're out there, but I just think it was kind of a bad move to be telling all of that to all three of those guys, and then you could see them kind of looking at each other, and I just didn't really like that too much.
Yeah, I still can't believe they left her alone with those guys.
And that was stupid. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it was. Do you guys have a person that is your winner pick for this season?
I think I've kind of given it away. Who I think
Tyler?
Tyler's just from the first week or something like that. He just kind of sat back. I mean, the very first episode when he had Carolyn win the idol, and he never mentioned it to anybody. Okay, he's put that piece of knowledge in his back pocket, and he's saving it. Instead of going out and blabbing it to everybody, he put that in, and then he did another thing. He goes, "Give me your tired, your poor, your cast-offs." He goes, "I'm going to bring them into my tribe and meld them into my own tribe." He's calculating. He's not put himself out there. He hasn't really made anybody mad. He surprised me because I didn't have him picked that high, but he's playing a very smart game from what I've seen so far.
Kelley, are you on board the Russell Wilson Tyler train?
I'm always on board the Russell Wilson train. Tyler actually has really surprised me as well. In the pregame interviews, I honestly didn't have high hopes for him, but he is playing a great game, I think. And like my dad said, he's just kind of hanging back, taking less information in, not making waves. I initially had Mike as my winner pick, and I still have high hopes for him. But I think that Tyler is a good contender as well for the million.
Well, let's just try to take a step back and sort of just try to figure out where is this going. Because I think ultimately what we're going to start to see is, especially if Shireen goes out next. I think that white collar is going to be less of a factor here. And is this ultimately going to be shaping up to be a blue collar versus no collar after we get to the merge? And how does that ultimately shake out? And are people like Tyler and Joaquin and maybe Carolyn, are they set up to sort of be like the Malcolm and Denise? And we always talk about that season in the Philippines with the two people left from Mad Sing, where, you had Penner's tribe and Scoopin's tribe. They were sort of like, busy with their own thing, and nobody was worried about Malcolm and Denise, and they were able to sort of just go to the end in the Final Four, at least. Do you think that potentially we could see blue collar and no collar start to focus in on each other and sort of forget about the guys like the Tyler and the Carolyns of the world? Dale, what do you think?
I think that's very possible, just for the fact I think Carolyn would probably be the first one to get attention, just because she's a little bit more vocal so far than what Tyler is, and depends on how far if the no collar tribe or red tribe keeps losing, how many people they lose and in what order they lose. Because Tyler's on, which tribe did he end up with? Well, I can't remember. I just went brain.
He's with the blue guys.
Okay, so Tyler's got a better chance of going deeper just because they're the stronger physically team right now. And so if the no collar loses a couple and Tyler makes it to the merge, if Tyler can make it to the merge, I can see him going very, very deep or even winning, just because he's not making the waves. And once he gets together, he can start building an alliance a lot stronger, I think, than what Carolyn can.
And I think adding on that, and like you're saying, Rob, with the kind of two bigger tribes, especially looking at their personalities. So you have the no collars, which have a lot of people left, 4 people, and they're really laid back, right? And then you have the blue collars, who have 5, and they're very like, work, work. I mean, not all of them, but most of them. I almost see those people kind of clashing, and, like you said, the white collars potentially kind of fading in the background. Especially if Shireen is gone, and you just have Tyler, Carolyn, and Joaquin. I mean, maybe Joaquin makes it even further than I thought. I thought he would be out very early. So.
I did too.
Yeah,
I think there'll be a lot of blow up between, if the merge happens and Will comes into the mix. I think there's going to be a big dust up between the blue collars working hard, and depends on how well Will blends in with the blue collar. But the blue collar seems to have a lot more of the arguments going on within the tribe. Yeah. So they might self-destruct a little bit just within themselves and split their life. We already saw with Joaquin and Rodney breaking away from Dan and Mike. So there's going to be fractures within that tribe. So you might not, the collars are going to dissolve pretty quick. And like I say, the white collars are probably just going to kind of blend into the background due to the fracturing within the tribes themselves.
Yeah. I want to go back to in San Juan del Sur, and ultimately the episode where you get voted out, Dale. Because I always felt like it was a bad move that Josh and Reed could have thrown that challenge. And they could have voted out Jared. And they didn't. And ultimately then they send you guys back to tribal council. But I feel like if they were playing it the best possible way, I think you throw that challenge and then you vote out Jeremy in that that spot because he's your competition. You're heading into the merge. Do you think that potentially the people on the blue collar tribe will take a look at what the chessboard looks like, and will they say potentially, and this is assuming that they have Sierra back, and they feel good about having Sierra back in the fold, should they throw a challenge to potentially vote Joe out and say to Sierra, one, this is going to help our chances because this thing is going to shape up. This is going to be no collar versus blue collar. If we cut the head off the snake, we have to say it in every episode, we can then really hurt the no collar people. Kelley, should they do that?
Well, I think that the no collars are a big threat. I mean, you have very tight Joe, Jen, Haley, and then Will's kind of just in there, but he's just along for the ride at this point. I think that is a very interesting thought that you get rid of Joe. He is very physical, but the thing is, there are so many physical guys on that tribe now that I don't know.
Sierra's the wrinkle. That's really the one. You don't know if she's loyal or not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because like I say, she jumped from the blue, so she'll be coming over. But I think, like Kelley mentioned, Joe and Hallie and Jen are so tight. They've got their own little alliance of no callers that are working pretty good together.
But the new blue tribe doesn't know that. So
no, they don't. But throwing a challenge, if anybody's got any survivor knowledge whatsoever, throwing a challenge is, I talked to Drew, throwing a challenge has never been good results. And he went back to our tribe, and I spent a lot of time talking with Josh. That's why him and Reed didn't do it, because it never turns out good, because tribal is never good. There's too many surprises in it. And factor in, you didn't know somebody was going to quit or something like that. There's so many things that happen. So throwing tribals just, God, very seldom does it ever show up to be a good.
And I think
sometimes it's not like it never works. There are times where it's bad, but I do feel like post tribe swap, if you're ever going to do it, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm not arguing for these particular people because I think that Sierra is too much of a on the fence to really count on her. But let's say hypothetically that was Kelley in her spot and not Sierra. The move I think would definitely be to go ahead and make that move and take out Joe.
Yeah. Because when you look at how their tribe is set up, you got Joe and Hallie and Jen. All of a sudden, it's a block of three, and you've got to do something to break up that three.
Yeah, so and also you're protecting Kelley potentially because that she could be the next person to go. Because if you don't do it to them, they could do it to you. They might be throwing the challenge to vote out one of your allies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because, like I say, you've got with the tribe swap or the blue collar, white collar, no collar, it kind of brings in a redemption island type because you've got three different alliances that were built up. Now you've got it down to two, so how quickly are they going to hold to their three alliance? So you've got several different alliances in history that you got to factor into each vote. Are they going to stack with their original caller? They're going to go with the new tribe, with the new people they've met. So
Rob, are you saying if the four blue collar on that tribe decide to throw it so that there's only the three, so their four votes go against the three, which would be Joe, Joaquin, and Tyler?
Yeah, I would say
follow this scenario.
Well, I would say that should they consider it? I think the answer is that they shouldn't because Sierra is too much of a swing vote. But that being said, if it was Kelley that was with them and not Sierra, I think they should do it because they could take out the person who is the leader of their rival, of the people that at some point it's going to be no collar versus blue collar.
Yeah, absolutely. But now you have the Joaquin and Rodney bromance, which they're probably talking about fast cars and women or whatever they talk about. So I don't know. Maybe Rodney's jumping ship now. It's like this tribe is there's so many things going on. No one's really sticking together except for Dan and Mike.
Yeah, and Dan and Mike, they've kind of, you go back to what they did with Sierra. They shot their alliance in the foot by, the no apology and that sort of stuff because they lost Rodney, and it looks like he's doing a bro thing with Joaquin. And so, like say the blue tribe is starting to fracture from within.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tough. And like say, like you was going, Rob, if Kelley was there, Kelley was solid with Mike and Dan. And
that might be a different story.
And that might be a different story because now they're losing Rodney. But if Kelley and Sierra would happen to be swapping places and Kelley would have been there, that gives them a block of 3 that they could go for. But now they're losing Rodney, and I don't think Joaquin's going to go in and vote with Rodney. They might go off on their own. And Rodney jump over against I don't know. It's tough.
Too many scenarios.
Put up with Rodney for a couple votes or as long as you can and then get rid of him.
I hope we have one more episode and then we get to the merge. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to have happen.
Yeah.
I think that the earlier they merge, the better, I think, on Survivor now at this point in time.
I think so too.
Yeah. No, it used to be at one point, it was like this part of the game, like pre-merge, this is where it's at. But now, and then we get predictable after the merge. But now I almost feel like, sometimes it can be predictable pre-merge, and now after the merge was where we start to see our shakeups.
Well,
unless it's San Juan del Sur. And then...
But I think that's also why they do the tribe swap, because of the fact that pre-merge was getting so predictable. Because within the first 1 or 2 episodes, you saw a 4 or 5 person alliance, and they were solid. All we got to do is make the merge. Because that's everybody's goal. We got to make the merge. So now, in the first 6 weeks, they do a swap to break up that predictability.
Yeah. Especially with the 3-tribe format, I do think that the merge is especially unpredictable because there's not one block that's big enough to really just carry the day.
Yes, you broke them down to 6-person tribes. So they go through 3 swaps. All of a sudden, nobody can get enough people to carry it deep into the game. And then when you toss in a swap in the middle of it, that destroys any alliance because face it, within the first 6 days, you don't build a real strong alliance, and all of a sudden you do a swap, you're starting from game 1. So it's a game within a game within the game till you get to the merge.
Like Inception.
Yes.
Okay. Let's take some questions from the listeners of the podcast. We got a lot of questions for you guys. All right? Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah, we're ready.
All right. Here's a question for Dale and Kelley. This is from Dowphil Fioti Mapagu wants to know.
Good job on that.
Have either of you ever witnessed any monkey sex on season 1? Now, again, this is the same place that you guys were.
Yeah.
Did you guys see any of this monkey business?
No. Go ahead, Kelley.
No, I did not see any monkey sex, but we did see a monkey with really, really large set of balls. So maybe that was the one.
Was that the same one?
It might have been. I don't know.
He was waiting so long for this season? That's what happened?
Probably.
He's a Survivor show-off. The lion's not the king of the jungle. It's the big bald monkey.
Yeah. Now, are either of these tribes now on the beaches that you guys played on? Can you guys tell? I talked to Natalie and Nadia at the start of the season. They felt like they could tell.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. White no collar, the red tribe right now is on Hunapu. I can actually, there's even a tree where
you bet.
the wood is like scraped off, and that's because we had carved the days in the tree, and I noticed last night that it's like totally, like the bark's all missing, so they must have scraped that off so that they didn't know we were there.
So the producers have to come in sort of like a landlord, and like they have to tenant, they just screwed this up, and then
they paid the damage deposit. Them San Juan del Sur defaced our beach, but blue collars, they're sitting in the pond where we sat. They gave some confessionals down where Jacqueline and I were collecting slugs and snails. So I recognize the same thing.
But aren't like all the tree logs gone and stuff from all the stuff you guys cut down and
they're using bamboo this year. This season.
But what's crazy is I'm thinking when I was on Hunapu, and I wasn't there obviously as long as a lot of the other people. We had used so much wood for the fire that we were having to go farther out and farther out. So I'm just curious, where the heck these people are getting their wood from, because there was nothing left.
That's why Mike has to work them so hard. Long walk.
I made sure to send Dan and Mike a message, so just so so you know, I marked that tree before you did.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, okay, you men. God. Jeez.
Is it you mark the trees with your urine? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to go that far, but
Oh my God. This is too much. This is going in a bad direction. This is not good.
Okay.
make a monkey blush.
Oh god. Oh my god.
All right, David Citron wants to know, Kelley, is Will in a good position? He'll probably make the merge, and his threat level will be overshadowed by the more physically fit guys and strategic minds out there. I see him possibly getting to the final five and beyond. So, Kelley, what about the birthday boy, Will Sims 2?
Well, I know what it's like to have a birthday. That's awesome. He'll never forget it. Yeah, I think Will is in a great position now. I think Will is one of those people that the tribe swap really helped him. I think he's going to be a non-factor. You know, once you get to the individual immunities, and he probably won't be a threat, you're going to have all these buff dudes who could potentially win. I think he could definitely make it a lot further in the game than I thought. I mean, I thought he would be out of that tribe pretty early on. So, yeah, I think he might make a pretty good run.
You know, I have to say, and I haven't been the biggest, Will guy this season, but I do feel like he handled the, getting votes at Tribal Council a lot better than Sierra did. And again, it was a bigger blindside for Sierra, and her ally ended up going home. So it's not totally, apples to apples. But he did get 2 votes, but he said, you know what? What else am I gonna do? And you didn't see him after the tribe swap. Be like, you know what? Screw Jen and Haley, because they put a vote on me. What happened if Nina played the idol? I would have gone home. So screw them. I'm done with them. And of course it helps probably that they've sort of set it up that people don't like white collar. They're sort of like made out to be the bad guys, I think, by the other 2 tribes. But I mean, it was good that he stuck with his original tribe and didn't hold that against them.
Yeah, that was great. And I think we don't know how many seasons of Survivor he's seen. I think in one of his interviews, he said he'd seen some of the first ones and stopped watching. So I think this may go back to that idea where, someone who hasn't seen a ton of Survivor maybe plays it a little bit differently, because he did, he was great. I mean, that was perfect. He didn't freak out. He was like, we're still a tribe. We have to stay unified. And now, look at him. The swap was great for him, and he didn't make any waves, and now he's just kind of hanging back.
And now he could be the perfect person, because he's not seen in a threat and a challenge, or in the individual immunity challenge and that sort of stuff. You're going to see the big guys start going after each other. There's quite a competition between Joe and Mike and Rodney and Joaquin. Once they get to the individual challenge and stuff, they're going to be looking at each of those guys, and like you said, Rob, they're going to overlook Will, so he could sneak pretty far just for the simple fact he's not that big a threat in the game.
All right, yeah. Michael Quigley wants to know, does Kelley hold herself to a higher standard? Now, Rodney talked about this with Lindsay, about the standard that men and women hold themselves to. That Rodney would like to see women hold themselves to a higher standard than what men have to hold themselves to. Kelley, do you hold yourself to that same higher standard?
Yeah, I would like to think so. I think what Rodney was trying to say is that, and I'm not even going to say right, but that women, no matter who they are, should just respect themselves. And I don't know. He just said it. He did not do a very good job of saying whatever was he was trying to say. But yes, of course I hold myself to a higher standard.
If I'll interject here. If women hold themselves to a lot higher standard, Rodney's going to be a lonely man.
There you go. Yes. Nailed it.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, just that whole conversation was so idiotic that they're fighting over.
To get into arguments that have nothing to do with the game of Survivor on the game, it's dead. I mean, it's just amazing. Argue over strategy and that sort of stuff, but to blow up over something that has nothing to do with it. It kills you in the game.
Yeah, what would happen if a girl breaks up with her boyfriend and goes to a club, and how people react to her, and how she should handle herself, and I don't.
He's basically saying he doesn't think he should keep his pants on, but I don't know what the hell he's saying. It's so weird.
And the bad thing is, it goes to show they should. I know it played a part in the game because it came up in the tribal. It did, and to bring it back up again in tribal again and that's why it surprised me that he didn't go home, because he brought it up in tribal again, and then Lindsay ended up going home. I'm surprised. Like, dude, give it a rest. You proved your point. Quit talking about it, because he came close to going home, and I don't think he realized how close at the time.
I don't think he cares.
Now, you guys are a parent and child team, and you guys have a fun relationship. Rodney talks about his relationship with his mom, about how his best friend is his mom. He talked about how she's 64 and she's hot, and people are gonna hit on her.
Oh my god!
What do you guys make of this relationship? Is this a healthy mother-son relationship, Dale? What do you think?
I think there's some weird ass people in Boston. Those East Coast people have been in their houses too damn long. Get rid of the snow guys. Come out to the West Coast.
Oh my god!
And I would never have made that statement. I never will make that statement, let alone put it out there on a TV show. I mean, that's just wrong on so many levels.
Kelley, is it a turn off if you meet a guy that is that close with his mom?
It's a turn off to meet a guy that's so full of himself. But yeah, I think I've definitely met men in the past that talk to their mom every day, and it's almost gets to this weird unhealthy level. It's I understand that you want to speak to your parents, but it's sometimes it is a little bit too much. They don't need to know when you went to the bathroom, so maybe tone it down.
Well, I've heard that if you don't try to poop, then it'll never happen.
I don't know anything about that.
That's what Shireen said.
Oh God, I tuned her out. I couldn't. After the whistling, it was just I'm done.
Yeah, Shireen's such she's such a talented person.
That and being obsessed with watching monkeys have sex in the trees. I mean, that lady's got issues as well.
Well, in fairness to Shireen, I don't think there's anything else to do.
That's true. I was just going to say, you got to occupy a lot of spare time, but I mean, that's just.
It was just the excitement about it. It was
it was just a little bit. I guess other than listening to Rodney around camp, it'd be something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What are your alternatives?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. This is a question from Martin Leitz, and Martin wants to know, Dale, how would you react if Kelley got a face tattoo? Have you given this any thought?
I have too much confidence in my daughter to ever have her get a face tattoo. Although, I will. If she did, I would sit there and say, "What the hell were you thinking?" But it's her decision. She's got to live with it, not me. I go, good luck in getting a job.
Well,
that's exactly what he would say.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. This ties into something else I want to talk about. Kyle Minot wants to ask Dale if he knows he's my hero and if I can marry Kelley. I mean, he's asking permission.
Good luck. Just remember, she said she's got higher standards, so.
Yeah.
You won't find me at the club.
Okay, but now, Dale, if Kelley wanted to date a Survivor contestant, and there's many eligible men in the Survivor dating pool, would you approve of her dating a former Survivor contestant, or do you think that she should hold herself to a higher standard?
I think she should hold herself to a higher standard, because Survivor contestants are lying, cheating sons of a bitches.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good Survivor contestants, but I mean, I would let her make that choice. She's a grown lady. She's proven it on San Juan del Sur. She's made great choices, so I'd leave it up to her.
Okay. So,
sweet, Dad.
yes, and Kelley, is this good news that you feel like your dad would approve of you dating a Survivor contestant? But what about an Amazing Race contestant, Dale? How do you feel about Amazing Race contestants?
There's been some real winners on Amazing Race as well. So, and not in the winners category.
Not in the winner chicken dinner sense.
No, I mean, by just narrowing down to Survivor Amazing Race, that's a pretty shallow gene pool.
No, we're talking about almost like 300 or 400 guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shallow gene pool you're picking from.
Yeah.
Is it? That seems, if that were an episode of The Bachelor, I mean, that'd be a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Or would you rather that Kelley found somebody from her favorite The Bachelor? Or I guess it would be The Bachelorette, one of these cast-offs from The Bachelorette.
I would have to leave it up to Kelley because I'm not a Bachelorette fan. I think I've seen maybe one or two shows, so I'm not too... I don't think Kelley would sell her marriage ring out for that less of money, for that little money. I mean, that's
Whoa,
you've never seen one of those work out, really?
If the ring was big enough.
Like, is it like a dowry? What is this money?
Well, but I don't think I would, let's see, maybe sell is a bad thing, but she wouldn't put herself in that position. Because if my history is right, or my reality show attention span works, none of those have worked past 12 months to a year.
Yeah.
Months to 18 months.
Hey, some of them have made it work. Some of them are married with kids. You never know, Doug.
Oh, okay. That shows you how much I haven't followed. But most of them go down in flames within 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Not a great track record.
No, it's not.
Can we go back to Rodney and his dating life for a minute? That he said something that I thought was very odd during the episode. And he's talking about women, and he says that 2 women burned him. He mentioned in the episode last night. Now, Kelley, do you think that this is literally or figuratively 2 women burned Rodney? Because I could see it going either way.
Oh my gosh, the visual is fantastic. Oh man, I think he meant that they burned him like emotionally, but it is very possible that it was a physical thing.
Dale, do you have a vote on this?
Only 2? and we know it's not his mom because she still thinks he thinks she's hot.
Yes.
Oh, God.
I don't think his mom burned him, but yeah, 2 different women burned him.
Some of these Boston people, I'm starting to have some issues with.
But you know what's so crazy about him saying that is like we've all been quote unquote burned. Like I'm sure there's nobody out there that's like had a perfect relationship. Maybe there's a few people that are high school sweethearts, but like, come on, you're not the only one, Rodney. That doesn't mean that you can act like that. That doesn't give you an excuse because you've been hurt or whatever by somebody. That's ridiculous.
And I'm sure if you was to poll some of the women of Boston with lower standards, that Rodney's burned more than 2.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, whatever happened with these 2 women, this is now an indictment on the whole gender.
Apparently so.
Okay.
They must have had some, I don't know.
All right. Yeah. This is a question for Dale from Tim Connolly. Dale wants to know, Dale, what felt the worst? Seeing Kelley getting voted out, yourself getting voted out, or the last play of the Super Bowl? What was the worst?
Come on, Dad. Make the right choice here.
It was that interception last play of the Super Bowl because I've been able to rewatch Survivor and watch Kelley get voted out. I watched me get voted out. I've yet to turn on the NFL Network and watch the last play of the Super Bowl.
Never gonna go back. Never gonna go back and watch that.
Never gonna go back. I had to wear a Patriots hat because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was embarrassing.
Does it make you even more upset to know that Rodney was probably celebrating like there was no tomorrow at that moment?
Yeah, he pulled his best Tom Brady impression, I'm sure. So it's just, I didn't know Rodney at the time, so that doesn't bother me. It was just, it was.
It bothers me. I have this image of him like on the couch with like 20 broads around him, as he would say, just like acting like he's like, that's me. No, you're not. You're not Tom Brady.
I see him running around.
No, you didn't win. He won. Okay.
I see him running around in the bar doing chest bumps with 30 guys and things like him.
Oh, man.
Okay. All right, here's a question from Michael Quigley. Wants to know, Dale and Kelley, they had to work with people they didn't get along with at camp. Parentheses, Missy and Baylor. What should Mike be doing to not be so alienating around the camp? This is an issue of again, and this came up on Survivor San Juan del Sur. Specifically, I think with, we heard it a lot with Keith and with Alec about who's not working, and we saw a lot with, Baylor doesn't do anything. And this resurfaced last week with Mike calling people out about people's work ethic. Now that you guys have come out of the season of Survivor, just how bad is Mike handling this, or is he just saying what needs to be said? Because it looked like it didn't hurt him this week.
Well, I think the thing is that I know there were times on the tribes I was on, Hunapu or Koyopa, whichever one it was at the time. There were times where I just knew what needed to get done. We need to get more wood, and I would just do it. And I didn't expect other people to do it because I know that not everybody is going to have the same work ethic as me. But I also know that me pestering them or badgering them about it is just going to put a target on my back. So, I get where Mike is coming from, but I think in this case, he just needs to say, hey, sorry, I was just having a moment, I'm super hungry or something, and just, do his thing. I mean, it's not always fair. It's not. And going into it, it's not going to be fair, but you just do it anyway.
I'll agree with Kelley, because I had one of those, and it was day 3 or something like that, a meltdown, and it just never made it. That I was so close. I mean, I was going to lay in the camp, everybody, because just of the fact that there wasn't that much going on. But like Kelley says, if I was born that way, if you see something, or raised that way, when you see something, you do it, you don't beg it for help or anything. And I got mad enough that I left the camp. And I just took 45 minutes, and I took a nice long walk, because if I would have stayed in that camp, I would have had a mic moment. And I knew it was not going to take me far in the game, because as the older guy, I was on the chopping block already, or I was 1 foot pointing that way, and also I wasn't fitting in with everybody, or trying to work your way into alliances. It was early in the game. So you have to watch your tongue, just for the simple fact, as I mentioned earlier, it takes so little to get you voted out on Survivor. An odd comment here, an odd comment there is all it takes. As soon as you whack-a-mole, you raise your head up a little bit too far, you're the next one out.
Did you say whack-a-mole?
Yeah, haven't you, the game where you...
Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking about warts. Sorry. No, I'm talking about mole. My bad.
So, yeah, it doesn't take much to get you noticed and put your name on the voting block in Survivor. So, at a lot of things, you come out of Survivor with your tongue chewed to hell because you've bitten your tongue so much.
Yeah.
Or you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean you would handle differently going forward, Dale? If you were to play again, would that change how you would approach it?
It takes an extreme, and I will give all the props to anybody who's won or goes so deep into the game, because you have to play Survivor different than you live your life. I mean, because that's it. You have to separate yourself. You have to know going in, this is a game, so I have to dial back this aspect of my life so it doesn't dominate or piss people off. And that's the tough thing to do in Survivor, because at one point you have nothing else than what you've been raised with, and you revert to habits. And you have to remember, Survivor's a game. So when you do have to tone back your work ethic, I'm not going to just tell yourself, I'm not going to be the guy to do all my work, because they're going to look at you as a leader. Okay. And leaders get chopped. So you tone it back a little bit. And that's very tough when you see nobody else doing anything. And like with my tribe, when you see nobody else doing something and something needs to be done, you do it, that puts a mark on you. So it's tough. And that's the beauty of the game, too.
Okay. Here's a question from Sophie Clark. And I got this question from a number of people.
Okay.
But let me ask you the Sophie version of it. Once in a Dale, what was the inspiration for the name Farm Guy 69? Of course, one of the most popular Twitter handles around.
Oh, gosh. Should I put my gift now, or?
I'm a farmer. I'm born and raised on the farm. At age 10 is when I got my first solo motorcycle that I could race on. So I started racing and doing dirt biking at age 10, and that would have been in 1969.
Okay, so it was like a real like a summer of '69 type deal.
Summer of '69, I got my motorcycle. I was freewheeling with my short hair. I was only 10 years old, playing in the breeze. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right.
That's the clean version. All right.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let's take another question. Mark Durrett wants to know, what other Twitter names did Dale consider before going with his ultimate choice?
That was it. That was the only one I could ever got.
Okay. All right. This is from Sarah. Sarah Middendorf says, what are your opinions on Mike? The first 3 episodes painted him as a hopeless outsider, but yesterday he seemed to be in a good place. So which is he? Which is the real Mike? The guy we saw the first 3 weeks, or the guy we saw for 2 hours last night? Kelley.
I mean, I think he's a mix of both. I think maybe Mike has realized he needs to tone it down with the whole getting wood and kind of freaking out thing. So I like, even from his pregame interviews, I got a good vibe. I thought he was just like a good dude. Like, he just seemed like a guy that would help people and go to the end, and people would vote for him because they like him. So I think we've seen all of the craziness from Mike, and I think moving forward we'll see more of what we saw last night.
Yeah.
It depends on how well they mix once they get to the white collar, once they get to the swap. If he can, if he's learned from past mistakes. I like Mike a lot. Mike and Dan and Sierra actually were a couple of my pregame favorites. Like I say, it depends if he can learn from his mistakes. He had a blow up with Rodney. It depends on how he mixes well with the no callers. Depends on how many of those come over, because the work ethic and the no work ethic, no rule type thing, how well that meshes.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's sometimes hard to tell with this pre-merge stuff, but specifically the pre-merge stuff in the 3 Tribe seasons, because basically we have about 11 days of stuff that happened before the swap. And cut it down to 4 episodes, and then, divide that time by 3. So roughly, we got to see about somewhere in the neighborhood of between, 20 to 30 minutes of what happened in the lives of the blue-collar people over 11 to 12 days. And it's possible we could have just seen, all of the conflict that happened. Whereas in, 11, 12 days, there was a good, 20 minutes to an hour of when Mike was fighting with the other people in his tribe. But because that was the best TV, that's what we saw. And it's entirely possible that we did not get a clear picture of how life was at that camp.
And when you break it down even farther, you say, okay, what we saw, the blue-collar tribe, the only blow-up we saw from Mike was the one thing about wood, and that was about a 45-second clip. So out of that 11 days, there was maybe 5 or 10 minutes that they've edited down to the 45 seconds. So for the 11 days they've spent together to have a 2 or 3 minute blow-up, that's nothing.
Yeah,
and I think we saw more fighting from Rodney, right? Because he got into it with Dan, he got into it with Lindsay, and I think, Mike did show that, when he said to Dan, you need to apologize, he is showing that he's not just going to fight with everybody. I think, for me, Rodney is more of the one that's going to be trouble.
Yeah, Rodney carried on a lot. Mike had his little blow-up, but Rodney carried on a lot farther. Making faces and that sort of stuff behind Mike after it was over and stuff, and he's just the ultimate bro guy. Bro, and I just don't get along with those. I mean, that's just.
You don't get along with the ultimate bro guys. Were there any bro guys on? Drew and Alec, were they the bro guys?
Drew and Alec were the bro guys. I mean, I could just imagine getting Drew and Rodney on the same place.
Oh my God!
That would just be, oh jeez.
Drew and John were bad enough. Trust me. So
it was John a bro guy.
Oh my God!
Yeah, he was a bro guy. Yeah, he was bro guy.
Yeah. At least when he was with Drew. When he wasn't with Drew, he was better. But when he got together, it was just like those fratty boys that came.
Yeah, it was a 40-year-old frat.
They weren't 40, but yeah.
Yeah, well, John was. John was.
No, I'm not talking John Rocker. I'm talking about
John Rock. Okay, sorry, John Mitch. Sorry.
John Mitch.
I had a John on my tribe too.
Yeah.
I know.
All right. Well, speaking of John, Blue Bear wants to know who's more offensive, Dan, Rodney, or John Rocker?
Rodney, for sure.
Yes.
Rodney more offensive than John Rocker, even.
Absolutely. Look, I will stand by this, and Dad was on the tribe with him, so he probably has a better idea, but, like, John Rocker wasn't that bad. And the one blow-up that you saw, like, Natalie, I love her, but it really was started by our tribe. And so, he took it for as long as he could, and then, being who he is, he's going to say something. Anyone would have said something. It's just that he took it to the extreme. I don't think he was offensive, though, like, around camp, at least from what I've heard.
He's just better at it than what Natalie was. And Natalie's good, give her credit. But I'll back up what Kelley said. We took it for 3 straight weeks of them attacking John and never said a word back. Every time we walked into Reward Challenge, after we voted Naughty out, after we voted Val out, every time we walked in, Natalie and Jeremy just laid into Rocker hammers and nails left and right. And it wasn't until that one challenge that John finally came back at him. So I will defend John. I got along great with him. It was just that one challenge where they showed him where eventually he says, look, he goes, I'm a professional trash talker. And that's when he let loose with everything. So, no, John was not offensive in the least. He was defending himself, and I backed him 100% on it.
But Rodney, on the other hand, is very offensive and thinks very highly of himself and, says whatever.
All right, so let's rank Rodney, Dan, and John Rocker. Rank them 1, 2, 3 from least offensive to most offensive.
I would say 1, 2, 3, just the way you put it. I'd put John. I got along great with John.
So John Rocker, Dan is more offensive than John Rocker?
I don't think Dan is more offensive. I think Dan just seems very confident in.
I would actually go with just the way you were listed, Rob. To this day, Rocker did nothing wrong on that island.
So Rocker, and then Dan, and then Rodney.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it Dan's manties that were the offensive thing he did?
Well, that ranks up there pretty good there.
Dale, were you glad that there was not a lot of people getting naked on Survivor during San Juan del Sur?
Yeah, I wouldn't have done. I mean, I have no problem with it if you want to go naked and that sort of stuff, but I can see why Tyler's averting his eyes a little bit.
It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's for attention. It's not necessary.
It's for attention. You're trying to make your other tribe mates uncomfortable. In my opinion, that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to throw them off your game and that sort of stuff, and it's. If you want to do it, great. It's part of the game. It adds for interest and that sort of stuff. But it can also come back and put a target on your back a mile wide, or on your bare butt, whichever way you want to put it.
What about Max putting his feet with the wart in the pot with the drinking water? Is that like was it an emergency? Should Max get a pass on that? Does the boiling water, does that just fix everything? Kelley,
aren't you supposed to pee on that if you get like a stink? Like
that's a jellyfish.
Oh, okay.
What about a wart? Do you pee on a wart?
Is that
how you mark it, Dale? Is that how you mark the wart?
No, you pee on a tree. You don't pee on your pot. Besides, I watch people put their underwear in a pot and boil them, and we hadn't taken showers in 15 days. So putting your foot in the pot is no big deal.
No big deal.
I mean, if anybody who's been there, you put any piece of clothing that you blow your clothes in there. So what's about a dirty foot?
I think part of the problem is that they already didn't like Max. They didn't like him or Shireen. So that on top of it was just like another thing. Like
they were just looking.
If Jen had done that, they'd been like, oh no, Jen's foot. But because it was Max, I think that was part of the problem.
They were just looking for something to pick at.
It was pretty gross.
Was that what they were going to pick at?
Yeah, see, I was trying to think, Rob. You picked up on that one.
All right.
I'm trying to forget that.
So, Dale, you would drink the water from the Max Fort pot?
Well, no, I'd dump it out and boil me some more water.
But you would use the pot, though. You would not
use a pot. I mean, after a while, you get hungry enough to eat slugs off the bottom of logs. What's a warty full?
Yeah. Did you eat a snake when you were out there, either of you?
No.
Would you? Would you eat a snake, Kelley?
Oh, yeah, of course. I was starving. Of course I would.
Okay. And Dale, you no problem, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you?
No, I never have.
Yeah.
But on Survivor, you would eat. I mean, surprise when you're hungry, you eat just about anything.
Just about anything. Okay. Let's take a question from Jeff McGinnis, who says, akin to Max's reciting of winners' astrological signs, what is the most useless piece of Survivor trivia you know, and how could you have used it to get you to the end? I'll address this question to Kelley. Kelley, is there a particularly useless piece of Survivor trivia that you know?
Oh my gosh!
And I'm not a good. I'm not that much a Survivor nerd. I can name some of the shows, but I can't name episode 1 from season this and this. I have a hard time remembering locations.
Yeah, I think I've seen every season. I haven't gone back and watched every season. I certainly don't know all these little details that Max knows. So I like Dad's saying, I can't even remember. I don't think I could put the seasons in order completely.
No.
So I don't have anything. I'm sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a useless trivia gatherer, I guess.
What about Seahawks trivia? What about if you were out there with another Seahawks fan? Would you just go through just like the whole 39 days? Just be talking about Jimmy Graham. We got Jimmy Graham now. Or I still can't believe why didn't they run the ball? Would that have been your Survivor? You and this Seattle Shireen?
We would talk, but even then, no, I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl. I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl.
That would be a turnoff.
That would be a turnoff.
What if it was a year ago? A year ago, we just talk about do you remember the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
If I would have been on a Denver Bronco fan, he would have been punching me in the face in 2 days.
Much like you do to Rodney right now, right?
That's much, yeah. So, you would try and stay away. You try and stay away as much as Lindsay should know by now. You try and stay away from hot topics that push somebody's buttons, unless you're trying to piss them off and put a target on their back.
No hot takes.
No hot take. Yeah.
All right. John Johnston wants to know, Dale, if you and Kelley went on The Amazing Race, how would you guys do? Would you be persona non grata after your comments about The Amazing Race in the past?
We would probably do pretty good as long as we didn't do anything in the water.
Listen, Rob, we had a pre-jury trip fiasco.
Oh no, what happened?
We probably should not do any sort of river rafting together.
Whitewater rafting. It was. You don't put two captains in one small inflatable boat, especially when neither captain knows shit.
Wait, who are the two captains?
Me and Dad.
Okay.
The guy put us both in a whitewater inflatable raft and pushed us down the river, and we sunk that damn thing 4 times and got it stuck on every rock and log.
No, because Dad would be like, push off, and I'm like, I'm pushing. And he's like, put your oar up. I'm like, my oar's up. And he's like, no, you need to turn. I'm like, Dad, shut up. Like, oh my gosh.
Eventually, the guide left us on our own. He tied our raft to the back of his raft. And then he cut the rope and said, "We'll see you at the bottom." He took off and left us.
Wow. Welcome to the bottom.
So we'd be okay as long as
we'd be okay.
River rafting, yeah.
Let me ask you guys about this pre-jury trip that I have you guys on the line here. So who's on this trip? So we got it says Nadia, you got Val, then who else? Drew,
and Julie.
Julie is with you guys.
Yeah.
And then Rocker.
Yeah.
So then, who else is there? And then Kelley and Dale.
Yeah.
Okay. So just give me a sense of what an average day is like with this trip. It's always fun to hear about these pre-jury trips.
Oh boy.
Let's see. You get to listen to Nadia walk around a crowded restaurant, cussing at everything in sight at the top of her lungs when you're trying to keep a low profile. The bar's probably already ran dry between Drew and John.
Yes.
Yeah. What can we say on air? Let's see. They try to keep us busy with activities, so that was good.
These pre-jury trips, I think this would be a great oral history of the pre-jury trips of Survivor, because every single one is a complete debacle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when you have Drew Christie with you, I mean, the crazy things are endless. So
Yeah.
So what was Drew bummed out about losing on Survivor?
No,
he couldn't care less. Yeah,
he was excited.
he was pumped up to be on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, the single women of Costa Rica will never be the same.
Like it goes either way. You get people that are either like depressed, like I lost, and then you get people that are just like woo,
yeah,
party.
He got to party in Costa Rica for
right. And you get. I mean, it really. There are people that really just take it like whoa, like people that are like whether they're you're married people that are like okay, my spouse doesn't know what's going on here. Like it really gets. It's really crazy because you're totally like for 3 weeks. You are just like off the grid. Like you're not allowed to call home or anything.
Yeah,
you have no name. You're in a third world country with no name, and 2 chaperones that really suffer.
These people that you can't pay them enough money to do that job.
Check into a motel and the motels aren't right. People are kicking and throwing luggage across the room because it's too far from a bar.
Yeah,
true.
And that was a true story, and we won't mention names.
Oh my God! All right. Well, the one day, the greatest book ever written, the oral history of the Survivor pre-jury trip.
This is a great idea.
Yes.
If they just put a camera crew with, talk about something. A camera crew with a pre-jury trip would just be.
No, it would ruin it. Though it would ruin it. The whole reason why people get so crazy is because there's no record of this. It's just like you're not even supposed to talk about it.
It's a tremendous therapy session. It really is.
Wow. All right, Dale and Kelley. Anything else going on that you guys want to talk about? In Survivor or out?
Dad, I don't think so. What do you have anything?
Just normal stuff going on now. Still up and down or wishy-washy on this season how it's going to turn out. The first couple episodes were kind of blah, so we'll see if they can. I don't know, with the all-guy tribe, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Rob, do you think this is the best season ever?
I mean, I don't think it would be easy to say any season was the best season ever after four episodes or 5 episodes. So, yeah, definitely I would not say it's the best season ever. I do feel like that the 2-hour episode last night was great. And I'm more excited today than I was 2 days ago because I felt like coming off of 2 episodes that I liked Vince and I was sad to see him go, and then I thought that the Nina episode was just kind of a predictable boot. So I feel like now that we're in the tribe swap, I know the merge is around the corner, so I'm very excited.
Well, coming off a predictable boot and monkey sex from last night's was a lot better.
Yes. All right. Well, Dale and Kelley, of course, we know that Dale is on Twitter. He's at FarmGuy69. He's been tweeting about anything good lately, Dale?
Oh, not too much. Just on Survivor and stuff. Trying to keep my nose kind of clean.
Are you tweeting about the season?
Yes, I am. I got a couple. I'm in contact with some of the contestants or castaways from this year and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So it's nice to stay in touch. I mean, they're giving me a bad time about the island. I go, look, we was there first, so we ruined it for you guys.
All right. And then, of course, you can follow Kelley. Kelley, you're just at Kelley Wentworth.
Yep, just very easy. No 69 in there, so.
All right, so there you go, and you can follow Kelley and all of her emoji on Twitter at KelleyWentworth.com. All right, great job, guys. This was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Thank you very much, Rob. I enjoyed it.
Hashtag.
We'll see. Sometimes I don't come up with that until the second half of the show. But what do you want the hashtag to be?
No,
we'll leave it up to you.
Well, all right. If you have a suggestion, this is speak now or forever hold your hashtag.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what comes up in the second half of the show.
Okay.
All right. Take care, guys.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
All right, everybody. There you have it. Dale and Kelley back on the podcast together this time, and I thought they really did a great job. Very fun to talk to both of them, and hope to do it again sometime in the future. Next up on the podcast, we like to get into the voicemails. We're going to talk about the social media and everything that happened this week on Survivor. But before we get to that, I want to take a moment and thank our sponsor for this podcast. This is a new sponsor, first time mentioned on the podcast. And so we want to welcome Retail Me Not. Is a website, of course, a lot of you guys have used that in the past, myself included, when you're online shopping, doing that last second, like, oh, I need a coupon code, and you Google up Retail Me Not. But Retail Me Not has an app, which is a lot easier to use than going ahead and trying to Google and search for these coupon codes, because with the app from Retail Me Not, you'll get thousands of coupons from 50,000 stores all in one place. Places like Kohl's, Domino's, Best Buy, all with amazing deals like 60% off, free shipping, free gifts with your purchase, and more. You are going to be living like you're a white-collar person and spending like you're a blue-collar person. You can get a text invite to download the free Retail Me Not app right from your smartphone. All you have to do is text RHAP to 42767. That's 42767. Then you can redeem coupons right from your phone whenever you're checking out. It's that easy. So Retail Me Not is the best way to have thousands of coupons on your phone so you can save money. So text RHAP to 42767. You'll get a text message with a link to download it. You'll never forget another coupon again. Text RHAP to 42767. Then you'll get the link for the Retail Me Not app through Rob Has a Podcast. They know that we were the ones that sent you over there. Message and data rates may apply. For terms and privacy, visit retailmenot.com. All right, everybody, let's get into talking about all of what you guys are saying on voicemail and the Survivor social media. And we have a very fun guest with us here today. This is somebody that I've become friends with over the last few months, that he's been a listener of the podcast. He's a big Survivor fan. And he reached out to me that he is the composer for Rick and Morty on Adult Swim on the Cartoon Network, and he is a big Survivor fan. He actually has his own Survivor podcast, which just got off the ground, called Snakes, Rats, and Goats. You can find it on iTunes. Here is Ryan Elder. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, Rob. Thanks for having me, man.
Ryan, which of your songs that you've composed for Rob As a Podcast would you like to be introduced with?
Oh my gosh.
How about
on the spot?
This one?
This week in Survivor history with your host, Jordan. Every kiss begins with K. Fishbach.
Yes. Is that you talking on there?
That is me. I just pitched myself down to give it more gravitas.
Wow, I should do that.
Just pitch the whole podcast down.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Great job on that. Everybody appreciates the stuff that you've done for RHAP, and great to talk to you here on the podcast. We actually got together in person recently. It was nice to have lunch, and I got to know a little bit about your background with the show, which I think is probably going to be interesting to some of the listeners. How did you become a Survivor fan?
I mean, well, I have always been into strategy games, werewolf, mafia, whatever you want to call it. And then my big game was Magic the Gathering, which I played since college. I even played on the Pro Tour once.
Wow.
And so my wife and I watched the finale of Borneo, and then we watched Australia all the way through. Kind of fell off after that, but I always meant to come back to it, and last summer we got back into it and watched, I think, 15 seasons in one summer.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
Like Evolution of Strategy.
A little bit.
She's an audiobook.
Well, yeah, except for all the time to make that audiobook in between each episode.
Oh, yeah, that's hard, man. That's crazy. Yeah. All right. So, and your wife watches the show too, because that sounds fun if your wife watches the show.
Yeah, she's a big fan.
Yeah,
she's a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and your wife didn't get burnt out with any of this stuff?
She did right around, let's see, Redemption Island.
Okay. A lot of people did.
Yeah, and I kept watching just for posterity, but I ended up liking a few of the seasons after that anyways.
Okay. And then was there a resurgence?
We came back in, it's complicated, but we came back in for Philippines, I believe, and we've watched them live since then. But this summer we decided we'd catch up.
Okay.
So between Australia and Philippines,
Okay, so there's a lot to make up there. Do you recommend that to people for a summer vacation? Summer staycation?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing better when it's hot. Pull the shades down, cool drink, and about 6 episodes of Survivor in a row.
I'm going to pitch that to Nicole for this summer.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into talking about your voicemails. I got a lot of voicemails today. And, it's funny that often there's a theme for the voicemails. Not like a theme like you would write for the voicemails, but usually there's a theme for the voicemails of that most of the callers want to talk about one thing in particular. And I feel like today the overwhelming thought of the voicemailers, and I listened to all of them, is people are interested in talking about the Max Dawson superfan factor. Now, I'm interested to hear from you about the curious case of Max Dawson.
Yeah, he kind of got an Icarus at it, didn't he? Where he was reaching such great heights and such hubris, and man, I was a big Max fan. I was secretly rooting for him, even though I picked Joe to win, I think, on our podcast. But I really liked Max, and I was bummed, I gotta say. So I wonder if other super fans were bummed, or if some people think he got what he deserved. I mean, he clearly made some mistakes, definitely. And your exit interview was really interesting, where he said, he was playing to the camera sometimes, and maybe that cost him.
Well, I'm interested to know, I certainly know my feelings from it going through it, but just as a third person listening to that conversation, what did you take away from that?
I actually really want to play Survivor someday. I don't think I will be able to, but I would love to. So I often think of it in terms of what do I have to learn? What can I take away from this if I were to ever be on the show? And it would be hard to go on the show and having so much pressure to put on a good show and have it be playing against my game. I'd like to think I'd go in and play like Tyler, but I'd probably play more like Max.
Yeah. It's hard because I think that a lot of us are also like people pleasers. Like we want production to be happy with what we're doing. So, and we also want the people at home to be happy with what we're doing. But often that's not the best strategic decision. And there's very few Tonys out there that can, ultimately win the game and also be great television. It's hard to do. Often you're great television, but you end up being somebody who plays an unwinnable game. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's hard to pull off in practice. So let's go ahead and
how did you do it, Rob? You played a great game and you were good television.
Well, you know what? Let me segue into our first question, and we'll talk about something like that. All right, here's a voicemail from Mike.
Hey, Rob, Mike from Toronto here. So I'm a little frustrated with Max and Sharon. The whole time they were out there, it felt like they were sitting on the bleachers watching the game from afar. Knowing that you were the original super fan, what do you think you did different than them when you were on the island? What made you hold back? What were the tricks of the trade to show that you were a super fan, but you weren't going to just sit back and watch while the game went ahead without you? Would love to hear your thoughts. Take care.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. But I don't think that the comparison between what it was like for me to be a super fan of the show in 2002 is quite an apples-to-apples comparison for what it's like for Max and Shireen to be a super fan, because in 2002, Survivor is the #1 show on television. So it's not that crazy to know everything about the first 4 seasons and change of Survivor, whereas in 2014, when they filmed this, it's definitely something that's way more niche to know everything about Survivor. So it didn't alienate me from other people in my original season like it did with these guys.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, did you know the astrological signs of every winner?
Well, there was only 4 that had happened, so I could have probably just guessed on a lot of them. But, that being said, also, I think I was with other people who were excited about the show also, and so it really, I don't want to make it seem like I did something right while they did something wrong.
Sure.
But that being said, also that there's also like a little bit of a sense of like knowing the temperature of the room.
Yeah. So that's what Max and Shireen were doing to each other because they both love Survivor. They probably just talked about it all the time.
Yes. And so ultimately, like Max and Shireen, like probably just could have done a podcast.
Oh yeah, I'd listen to it.
Yeah, don't give them ideas. But yeah, it would have been. Although maybe I hear it might be annoying.
Maybe I think Survivor fans would probably find it pretty entertaining.
Probably, I think it probably would be.
The hardcore fans.
It would probably be decently entertaining at the very least.
You should at least have them on together and see how it goes.
Okay, we'll see, and we'll see if it's annoying or not.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll be a special episode of Max and Shireen show. All right, so let me ask a question since we're talking about Max and Shireen. Let me play this question from Alice in Chicago.
Hi, Rob. This is Alice calling from Chicago. It seems like Max found a true kindred spirit in Shireen during his time on Survivor. But ultimately, this friendship seemed to be the kiss of death for his Survivor game, as it brought out all of his deepest quirks that he probably wouldn't normally show to a group of random strangers, such as revealing the depth of his Survivor obsession and walking around naked. My question for you is, do you think Max would have gone home at this point in the game had Shireen not been on the island? And is it generally better to suffer through 39 days with people you can't fully relate to, or to find a true confidant and friend on the island? Love the podcast and hope you come to the Windy City soon.
All right, lots of people hoping that RHAP will come to Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling the pressure about come to Chicago. Come to Chicago.
You'll go.
We'll see. Anyway, this is an interesting question to me. Would Max or anybody be better off not finding your Survivor soulmate out there? And it's funny that we haven't talked anything about a potential romantic entanglement of Max and Shireen. They are truly the platonic male and female friends. But that being said, that they got along so well, is that bad to go out there and find your best friend on Survivor?
I mean, I don't think so. Look at JT and Steven from Token Sheens. I think ideally you want to find your best friend, your tight alliance you can trust till the bitter end.
Are you saying JT and Steven are best friends?
Well, I don't know if they are now. They seem to be on the show.
They seem to be on the show. We'll see. I'm not sure how close they are in real life.
Are Max and Shireen best friends in real life?
They seem to be going everywhere together.
Okay, fair enough.
I
think you do want to find your Survivor soulmate, but I don't think you want to let people know so obviously, and you certainly don't want to connect with that person at the expense of everyone else.
Would you rather be friends with everybody or have one great friend?
Oh, friends with everybody, for sure.
I feel like
Survivor. Real life is a different story.
Yeah, in real life, yeah, I feel like in real life, I almost am playing the way you'd want to play on Survivor, where I feel like I have a good relationship with everybody, but nobody really is my best friend.
Yeah.
But in Survivor, I'm doing it right in the Survivor way, but not real life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, the secret two-person alliance can be very powerful.
Very good. That's very good.
It needs to be secret, or mostly secret.
Yes, I think that's a good call. It's almost like Max and Shireen. And I talked to Ellen Kelley, but they ended up sort of like becoming like a blood versus water pair.
Yeah. And Max said in his exit interview that they tried to avoid each other right after the tribe swaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But eventually they just couldn't resist the siren call of talking about One World.
Yes. I mean, I guess if you want to talk about One World, I mean, how many people are there out there that will talk about the One World tribe swap?
I don't know.
It's not a big group. Okay. Speaking of the One World tribe swap, let's take what I think is an interesting question This is from Matt, who talks about the way that the show presented this to us. Here's Matt.
Hey Rob, Matt from Chicago. Just a question about the edit tonight. I'm sure that Max and Shireen were annoying and a little obsessive. I also got a little bit of a get-a-life nerds vibe from the show, like when Shatner hosted SNL. Do you think that Survivor shows good fan appreciation, and do you ever think we'll see a superfan who can talk about the show's history edited in a positive light? Hope Spencer can get you guys out to Chicago this year, even if that makes me too much of a nerd. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Right, I think this is fascinating, this discussion.
Yeah.
So Survivor itself, the franchise, presents people who are obsessed with the show that they're on. And it portrays them in a somewhat negative light of these people are the outcasts that, again, they show them unfavorably, not like that they are unjustly persecuted for their love of Survivor. They are justly shunned because they love the very thing that they're on, the very thing that we're supposed to watch every week. They love it too much. It's almost like if somebody was excommunicated from the church because they recited Bible verse too much. I said, get out of here. We don't want you as this church. You know too much about the Bible.
That's crazy. You're right. I hadn't thought of that. That is very, very odd. But yeah, I mean, maybe the casual viewer can really connect with that sort of nerd, non-nerd dichotomy. I don't know. Or maybe they just haven't cast a super fan that can chill out.
Well, does Survivor itself, the franchise, did they show their cards last night in that who they're really marketing to is the casual fan who watches the show on Wednesday but really can't remember back to Survivor One World? Is that who they feel like is their core audience base of the show? And look at this guy, what a nerd that he knows everything about the show. This is, we have to show him this is annoying to have somebody who is that into the show.
Well, Survivor is not a cult favorite. Their ratings are great. So, yeah, I think probably it's true that the majority of viewers can't remember One World.
Yeah. Like, for instance, like a show like Game of Thrones or that sort of community would not, treat like it would be the opposite. Somebody would be voted out of Game of Thrones Survivor Riverlands for, not knowing, oh, you didn't know this minor detail of what House Tully was doing during, the reign of the Mad King. And so you would be shunned for that. But in Survivor, it's like, hey, you know too much about Survivor. That's weird. Get out of here. You're voted out.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think that's what we've seen. Absolutely. With Cochran's first appearance as well.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. I think it has to do with the fact that probably the majority of their audience is more casual, which it's kind of a bummer for people like you and me, but or people like me, I should say. I don't know if it's a bummer for you. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I just think it's really just interesting. Like, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I mean, the people that are really, nuts about the show, the people that will listen to, podcasts and want to talk about the show afterwards, and there's many. Now, but they're clearly outnumbered by the millions of people who watch the show way more casually. And I just thought it was interesting to see that the show really, instead of appealing to the base or the most, really, fanatical supporters, appeals to just and again, it makes total sense from a business sense of like trying to appeal to the mass audience. But I just feel like it's interesting.
Yeah, I think you want to appeal to as many people as you can, so they put superfans on the show so that other superfans get excited. but then maybe they have to edit them in a certain way so that it isn't alienating to non-super fans. I don't know.
But do you think that they put Max on the show because he was a super fan, or do you think they put Max on the show because they thought he was going to be a big character?
I think they put him on the show. Well, both. I think they thought he was going to be a big character because he's a super fan. And he's a Survivor professor. His story is so good.
Yeah, it's an interesting story about being the Survivor professor. I think that's sort of like sexy that people would be interested in seeing him because he's the Survivor professor. But for instance, like Shireen, I don't think she got cast on the show because she's a super fan. I think she got cast on the show because she's interesting. The same thing with Cochran, too. Like Cochran, people think, they cast him because he's a super fan. No, they cast him because he was like a 22-year-old Woody Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Shireen. I think maybe the question about Max, would this have happened to Max if Shireen hadn't been around? I don't know. Maybe not. But I do think this would have happened to Shireen had Max not been around. Because I think that's just her personality, the singing the national anthem and stuff like that. I think she likes to put herself out there and share herself with those around her, and that can be alienating.
Yeah, so just a fun topic of conversation. I really did think coming into this season that these super fans were going to be the people that dominated the season. I had heard, Survivor 30 is going to be it's going to be a really good season, and I really thought it was going to be the white collar people, the Maxes and the Shireens of the world, the people that really knew the game, were the people that there was going to be some new evolution that was going to happen in season 30, and it does not appear to be the case.
On a related note, it did surprise me that Jen was so anti-superfan when she comes across in her pregame interviews, at least, as a superfan herself.
Yeah.
So I would have put her in the camp of people that were superfans and that would have got along great with Shireen and Max, to be honest.
No,
so that was surprising. She was very annoyed.
Yeah, they were on her nerves. And she says, hey, I've seen every episode of the show, but I'm not, obsessed with it. I couldn't tell you every single thing that happened. But I feel like in some ways that was easier for her to relate to the other people that are out there. It's like she has that knowledge base, but she really was not interested in sort of going through and talking about it. So it's just a fun thing to sort of follow, how this is presented in future seasons. All right, let's take a question from Eric. And Eric has a question for me about how I reported or discussed last night's events.
Hi, Rob. I'm wondering if your pre-existing relationship with Max is allowing you to cut him way too much slack. It seems to me that somebody with that much knowledge of the game really should be criticized for, being that annoying, being that strategic, and being that cocky. Let's hear what you think.
Okay. Fair question. I mean, I don't think I've ever stated that I have a great pre-existing relationship with Max. I certainly know of him, but I would not say that, he is a close confidant. I did not know whoever he talked to before he went out there. I was not in the inner circle of people that worked with Max before he went out there. I found out that he was on the show a couple months before it aired and several months after it filmed. So I don't want to overstate, how close Max and I are. He's way closer with a lot of other survivors. But have I been too easy on Max? I mean, I guess so. But I mean, if you take a look at the people that I am hard on or not hard on, I feel like I'm pretty consistent. And really what that comes down to is effort. And the people that, are the people that don't try or don't care, those tend to be the people that I'm the most hard on. And I'm sure if you go back and find somebody who had a consistently, similar performance to what Max did, I feel like you would find that my analysis and my commentary was probably similar. Can you think of a player that you would compare Max Dawson's game to?
That's tough.
Other than Rob Cesternino and Survivor All-Stars? And believe me, I was way harder on Rob Cesternino than Survivor also.
That's tough. Yeah. No, I don't think so because there's so many mitigating factors with Max, his super fandom, that whole issue we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
As far as someone who seemed like they could do really, really well and then went out early, there's a lot of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Val from last season, for example.
Yeah.
But honestly, his edit in this last episode was closer to Drew Christie's edit than anything.
Yeah.
This rampant hubris.
Yeah, that's
him and Shireen was pretty fun to watch. Probably not for Max though.
Yeah. Maybe you could say it was more of like a bizarro Drew, where Drew like knew so little about the game.
Yeah.
And he was almost oblivious to what was going on, where Max like knew so much about the game that it sort of blinded him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably not another, one-to-one conversion.
No.
But I'm trying to think of somebody that we could put in a similar situation where, I really killed that person. That for the most part. Yeah.
Kill anyone.
Yeah. And the people that I do really kill are the people that, either want to quit or don't want to try or just want to give up or like, I rarely, kill a person on any of these shows for caring too much. It's more the person that just is like, well, whatever. I don't, this doesn't matter to me. I'm much more likely to be down on that person. So I can understand why, because it's a thing with Max where a lot of people who are the big fans themselves feel like Max may have represented the super fan well, and maybe there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. Maybe the person who's the big fan who's trying to get on the show feels like, well, Max A took my spot, or B hurt me in terms of me getting on the show in the future, or made my road to getting on the show harder by being a bad representation of the person who is a fan, and feels like that they would have done more with that spot than Max did, and feel like some resentment towards him for getting it. Max was in a tough spot this season.
Yeah.
He really was.
In that sense, Cochran is a reasonable comparison because I do think there is a lot of animosity towards Cochran's first attempt at the game.
Yeah.
For similar reasons, he should have known better than to do what he did. And there is a lot of that he should have known better going around with Max.
Oh, yeah. People killed Cochran during his first season and what he did and what he made such a terrible move and that he blew it. And again, I think I was a Cochran defender of Cochran 1.0. I think that Stephen Fishback and I went back and forth many times about how I said I liked that move, and he did not care for it. But, I respected that at least he made the big move there.
Sure. I think I'm with Steven, though.
Well, sure, we know how it turned out. We know how it went. Okay.
No, yeah, even if I didn't. But, yeah.
All right. So the superfan has an uphill climb. It's a tough day for the Survivor superfan, I think.
Yeah, I think you really got to put that in the back of your mind and let it kind of bubble up when you need it instead of always being the superfan when you're there.
Yeah.
I don't know, though.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I really feel like, the person who is, if you weren't a Max fan coming into last night, I feel like now it's really the day you're piling on Max.
Yeah.
And I think he even said, like, in his pregame interviews, like, there's a lot of people that want to see me fall on my face. And to a degree, that is kind of what happened. And I said, well, a lot of people want to see him fall on his face. It's a good thing he has that beard, because that's like a built-in airbag.
Yeah. That beard is great.
Yes. And so if you were anti-Max, you take a lot of glee in this. I do not take, great pleasure in the downfall of Max Dawson.
No, as I said before, I was bummed. I was sad. I wanted him to go far.
Yeah, I think it could have been fun, and I definitely felt like in talking to him that there is some feels like I don't know if I want to say regret, but like I wish I would have like done things differently. And I feel like I've heard this sort of like described as sort of like, it's not so much like being in the moment, but as much as like thinking about how is this going to look in the moment, where, you're sort of like, thinking about things like the hashtag and what's the quip here, as opposed to actually like being in the flow of what's happening in the moment. Yeah. It's tough. Okay, let's take some more questions. Are you bored about talking about this topic yet?
No. Okay. No, I can talk about this all night.
Okay, good. Because the voicemailers, this is what they wanted to talk about. All right, let's take another question about this topic, and let's go to Jess in New Zealand. Here's Jess.
Hi, this is Jess, coming to you not so live, all the way from New Zealand. I just had a quick question about all these super fans that are now so openly telling everyone how much they love the show and everything they know about it. Do you think we've entered a new time where it's okay to do this, and do you think it's a good strategy? Thanks, bye.
No, I think it's quite the opposite now at this point. Like I talked about before the season started, and again, like I take a small sample size and then I come up with a big conclusion out of that as part of what I do on the podcast. And I said I thought we were entering a new era where the super fan will be prominent on Survivor, and we'll see many super fans competing on the show, because that there will be less and less people applying to be on the show who aren't fans of the show, and less recruits, and more people who are the people that really want to be on the show are the people that get on the show. It felt like it was going that way. That being said, I wonder if we're instead entering an era where the super fan downplays how much they know about the show.
Yeah, I also wonder how much we're not seeing of the other super fans. Like, I forgot that Dan is a huge super fan as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, so I wonder if Dan and Shireen make it far, and Jen, they're super fans. Shireen talks about it, the others don't. Maybe we're just not seeing the others talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope you're right. I hope it is a whole run of superfan seasons.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
But for super fans that are in the closet, super fans.
Yeah, I personally would not tell people that I'm a super fan.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a lot to gain from that.
Yeah,
I have nothing to gain from that. Except for a soulmate, apparently.
And I wonder if it's the kind of thing where it's like that you're better off sort of like, Lisa Welcheling it, where you sort of like, you're a super fan, but you don't want anybody to know, and it's sort of your secret that you come into the game with. And, like, I hear you say like something like, stick to the plan one day, and I sort of like raise an eyebrow. And then when we get alone, I'm like, Ryan, like, are you a big super fan? Because my fandar is telling me that you're a Survivor fan. And it's like, oh my God, you are too. Oh, okay. And we can like have that be like our secret that we're not going to tell anybody, but we're not going to be like Max and Shireen in front of everybody talking about like the Survivor winners' astrological birthday signs.
Yeah, but that's a double-edged sword, because they could hear you say stick to the plan, and they go, another super fan, I need to get this person out.
That's true. It's a little bit like Sarah and Tony, who were both cops in the same tribe. And they say, I'll like pull you aside and be like, so Ryan, are you a Survivor super fan? And you were like, no, what are you talking about? I'm not a Survivor fan. I'm a big Growing Pains fan. I'm a Growing Pains fan.
They said stick to the plan on Growing Pains all the time.
That was Mike Seaver. They used to say it all the time to his dad, Alan Thicke, and that, show me that smile again. But no, I'm not a Survivor fan.
Yeah. You also run the risk they don't even tell you that they noticed. They just vote you out. Yeah, so it's tricky, and it's going to be interesting to see this. I think this whole thing with Max will potentially reverberate for future superfans quite a while.
Yeah,
the closet superfan.
the closet superfan. It's interesting, and a lot of it also goes into when seasons get filmed and people and like whoever the next superfans are that play, and it's always hard to figure that out. So maybe this is a blip on the radar today, but the next time superfans are playing this game is a while down the road, and it's not as big of a deal at that time. That's often the case. That's what we tend to overstate the impact of something in the moment.
True.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. So let's take another question. By the way, going through these voicemails, I got a voicemail today from somebody who is an astrologist today, Ryan.
Excellent.
And I'm not going to play the voicemail because it's long. But basically, I got a call from an astrologist that said, hey, I'm an astrologist. I happen to be going through all of the Survivor astrology charts before this episode. And that's how you know he's on to something, because he was already looking at this before Max Dawson even mentioned it on the show. And he offered to be a guest on the podcast and talk about the astrology of Survivor on an episode of the podcast. Ryan, do you think that would be a good episode of the podcast?
I would absolutely listen to that.
Okay. All right.
Maybe for ironic reasons. I still would enjoy it.
But I feel like that Stephen Fishback has said that Eliza is very strongly anti-astrology. I wonder if it should be like a point counterpoint.
There you go.
Yes.
I don't. Whichever side the astrologer's on, he might not be able to get a word in edgewise.
Yes, I'll have to say. I'll have to say, like, I'll have to moderate it, like a House of Cards debate.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, he should have left a shorter voicemail so we could have heard it.
Yeah, it's too long. But I've already emailed this person and said, let me know. Let's talk about that. So either
listen.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll either be good or ironically good.
I'll take either.
Yeah, either one.
Yep.
Okay. So let's take a question from another great fan of Survivor. Here is Morgan Stradling. Morgan.
Hey, this is Morgan Stradling, and I am so bummed to see Max go. I loved Max. I thought he was a great character, and he was also a super fan, and it was great to see a super fan like him go out there and play the game. Now, that being said, I think one of the biggest problems with Max's game is that he was kind of playing other people's games. He was recreating these famous Survivor moments and quotes, and as a result, we didn't get to see him play his game and make his own mark on the game. And that's a shame. So my question for you is, if you were Max and you could start all over and play season 30 again, what would you do to make sure that you make it far into the game?
Okay. So we're going to start all over again. And we're going to do things differently for Max. By the way, I want to just give a quick shout out to Morgan Stradling, who her podcast, Animation Addicts, is also nominated for Best Produced Podcast at the Podcast Awards. And as the reigning Best Produced Podcast Award winner, that I want to give a shout out to Morgan in that category.
And you're not even in that category this
I'm not in that category. I also
there you go.
There's no
conflict of interest.
There's no conflict of interest. I also am the reigning Best Video Podcast Award winner, and I'm not in that category either.
But you're in the big ones.
Yes, I'm in entertainment and people's choice. So ironically,
I voted today, by the way.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Ironically, I was the 2 years ago, I'm the winner of the Best Entertainment Podcast, and I did not get nominated in that category in 2013. And then we're back in that category.
They want to mix it up.
They mix it up. Yeah. Also, Morgan's podcast is also nominated in the movies and film category as well. If you wanted to fill out the rest of your ballot. All right. So in terms of if Max was going to do things differently, is there anything major that you would say besides the obvious of keep Carolyn close?
There's a lot of things that I wouldn't have done if I was Max.
Yeah.
Getting naked.
The naked thing, I think, in hindsight, and no pun intended. But I think it was
once.
I think it was fine. Not great, the naked stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like we sort of talked about it at the time, okay, well, it's probably not that big a deal, but I felt like it was symptomatic of what was going wrong.
Yeah, even even in this episode, there was a lot of shots of him naked all by himself. You know, it wasn't so much the nakedness that was the problem. It was the fact that he was doing it to be alone. And that doesn't seem like where you want to be.
Yeah. Ideally, you don't want to be alone on Survivor. You know, Max talked about something on the exit interview, which I thought was kind of interesting too, where he talked about how, you know, I asked him, what's the one thing that you learned while you were out there that you could not have learned before your experience, and that you only could have learned from being out there.
Yeah.
And he talked about how just like the, you know, mind-numbing, you know, boredom and how close you are with these people. And, you know, I really feel like, you know, Survivor, like every day on Survivor is almost like, you know, a, you know, 12-hour elevator ride. Like you're basically just like in a small confined space, even though it's an open space. But you're just with the same people, and there's nothing to do but just make, you know, chit chat for most of the day.
Yeah.
And even the little things you do to keep your mind sort of like sane get on other people's nerves.
Sure. I mean, it's rare. I bet it's rare that you get a chance to where everyone gets to play basketball except for Mike.
Yeah.
Because I always think like, well, you got a beach, you could draw a chessboard on the beach or something, but
yeah,
not everyone wants to play chess.
And you also don't always have the energy to do it. Also, like,
fair enough.
In the Amazon, I made up like some sort of like, you know, stupid like tic-tac-toe game. But you know, it was sort of like, it was fun for like a few days. Like it was like at the height of like the good times in the Amazon. And then like once like Alex got voted off, then like nobody wanted to play games anymore. It was like everybody was like too busy like hating each other. But it was fun for a couple days to have stuff to do. So, you know, it really is tough to be, you know, a conversationalist and also not irritating. Like, I'm sure the stuff that Shireen is doing about, like, hey, you know, I'm a world-class whistler, is just, she's so bored. You know, she's looking for any stimulation. And when you're sort of somebody that's like a Max or Shireen and, you know, you just are used to talking a lot, you know, I'm sure it's hard to come up with things to talk about that are not going to get on people's nerves, whereas some of these no-collar people, I think they could just sort of like turn their brains off for a little bit, like, which is a nice feature to have.
Yeah, my wife and I were just talking about this today because she is totally okay with being bored.
Yes.
And I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I've always got to be doing I've got to be doing 3-4 things at once. Yeah. So it would be an amazing skill if you just could sit there inside your own head.
Yeah.
And, you know, be okay with it.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be able to have if you could. Like my wife could definitely do that. She could go on a car ride and go like 4 or 5 hours and not talk all that and be fine. And I would be so bored. Yeah. And so it's definitely, and again, if I'm in the car with somebody else who loves to talk, hey, this is great. Perfect. But if I'm in, you know, if Jen and Haley are in the back seat, they're gonna want to, you know, pull the car over and vote me off.
Well, you don't think you'd have anything to talk about with them?
I don't know. I mean, I think I would have things to talk about them, but I think that they may not have things that they either want to hear from me or talk to me about. So
yeah, I guess we'll find out when you do your exit interviews with them.
Yeah, I hope they're not bored. I hope not. I want to actually, since we're talking about Jen and Haley here, there was a secret scene from Haley, and I thought it was particularly interesting what she talks about. She basically talks about how Survivor isn't actually that hard, and she talks about her thoughts on how to play the game. Are you interested in hearing any of this?
I haven't heard. I haven't watched it yet, so play it. I'd love to hear it.
With Max and Shireen, it all started because in all of their Survivor wisdom, they found the most discreet place to discuss their secret plans was right in the middle of camp, when all of us were on another side of camp, watching them, like, whispering in their own little huddle puddle, obviously, strategically, for, like, an hour. So they completely ostracized themselves with all of their Super Survivor strategizing in front of us. And at that point, they became the enemy, and all of us became the normal people. They were like, okay, who's going to go first? For both Max and Shireen, this is their life. Like, they love Survivor, and they've wanted to be on here for years, but it's like they're oblivious to the social aspect of the game and like the common sense. Like, just be a decent person. That's how you get far in Survivor. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be annoying. Don't be inconsiderate. You'll do okay.
Right, that's the Haley. What's her last name?
I don't know.
Whatever her last name is, those are the H whatever rules. So what is it? Don't be a weirdo. Don't be annoying.
Don't be inconsiderate. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be annoying.
I mean, she's not wrong.
It's great, simple advice. It seems like half the cast can't follow it this season, but
yeah, like that.
Yeah.
In a regular season of Survivor, forget about All Stars or anything like that. If you could just go out there and just make friends with everybody in your tribe, just be friends to everybody in your tribe, get everybody in your tribe to like you, you will go far in the game. Like, at the end, people will say, okay, we don't want you to win or whatever. But if you can just get everybody on your tribe to like you, you're fine. You'll be fine.
You make the merge 99 times out of 100 if that is what you can do.
Yeah. And, everything else is just sort of like overthinking it. It really is just a simple exercise of just go there and make friends. Like, there are not people on Survivor that get voted off, first or second, that everybody is, unless they have some sort of like they're hurt or something like that, or they just are sick, something like that. There's no first or second booth that everybody's like, oh, we love this person, and we're so sad to see them go, but they're gone. Yeah. And maybe there's somebody that we can come up with off the top of my head, but it's either that, a couple people don't like them, or they think that there's some hearsay that goes on and everybody piles on, that could happen, like a Jessica DeBen or something like that. But it typically is that you have a person who's just not well liked in the group.
Yeah, well, the trick is then to be well liked by everyone, but still make it to the end somehow.
Yes,
because you become a threat at some point. The switch has got to get flipped for most people playing, and they got to go. This person, everyone likes him. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
For her, we got to vote him out.
Yeah, but it's also hard to win the game if you're not well liked by people. So I mean, I feel like the Haley rules of just be likable is a big part of the game.
That seems like level 0 for me.
Yeah, but it's something that Max and Shireen definitely struggle with.
A lot of Survivor contestants struggle with it.
Yeah, that's the HF rules. Haley Ford,
that's right.
Yes.
You'd think that'd be the easiest. It's probably the easiest last name out of everyone's to remember.
Yeah. So Haley, the HF rules. So just to get them one more time, these are the HF rules.
That's how you get far in Survivor. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be annoying. Don't be inconsiderate. You'll do okay.
Don't be a weirdo. Don't be annoying. Don't be inconsiderate. HF rules.
Yeah.
Let's take a question from our good friend, the Tabulator. Wants to talk about Max's exit.
Hey, Rob. This is Kurt from Chicago, the Tabulator. Quick question for you. When Max was voted out last night, did you get kind of an awkward feeling as he was standing there with Jeff? I was half expecting him to pull a Dawson, but then something interesting happened. Maybe it's completely my imagination, but it seemed like usually you see Jeff snuff the torch, a moment where the person who's leaving looks back at the tribe and they wave, and you see them actually leaving tribal council, and it almost seemed to cut like right from when Jeff snuffed the torch to Max already partway down the path. And I was wondering, were you kind of like sitting there awkwardly at that point, wondering if he was going to do anything, and did you get the sense that maybe something was cut out there? Take care, and good work with the podcast.
Ryan, did you think that Max was going to pull a Dawson?
I thought he was going to do something. He just did the hold up, bro. So I thought he would, absolutely take that moment, and I think maybe he did.
Yeah,
based on that edit.
Well, what do you think now? Hold on. Now, if Max pulled a Dawson, what would we call that? Double Dawson?
Double Dawson, yeah. I like it.
So do you think that, I wish that I would have more time to ask him this, but do you think that he did something? Because I thought that he was just so shocked that he didn't do anything. He says that he, realized that he was going home by counting the pen strokes, which it is very quiet there. It's not unrealistic to think he could have heard that, but sometimes, also, as Stephen Fishback will tell you, exit interviews are not always canon. So, again, and that comes up a lot. Nobody ever said they got blindsided, and that's rare to hear on the exit interview. So, do you think, did Max actually know that he was going home, and did he have something, something witty planned, or was he just in shock and didn't do anything?
It looked to me like he was in shock.
Yes.
Absolutely. The vibe I got from his body language was that he was shocked. He was a little speechless, I think.
But to speak to what Kurt said, it did seem like, and again, I haven't gone back and verified Kurt's notes on the edit, that it would seem like that there would be something that maybe didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I watched it twice and I missed that cut too. I'd have to go back to. I mean, if it looks like there's a cut, then maybe he did do something. But you would think that his hold-up bro was his thing if he did see it coming.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
If we give him that, if we give him the benefit of the doubt and say he counted the pen strokes and he knows it's him, then the hold-up bro could have been his thing.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That would make sense.
But I don't know. You'd have to ask Max, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, somebody, if we do another interview with Max, remind me to ask that question. All right. Here's a question from Zach from Cincinnati.
Hey, Robinson. This is Zach from Cincinnati. In the past on the podcast, there's been chatter about the Velazquez effect or how Tony will impact future players. The assumption has always been that he would encourage entertaining and sporadic gameplay. But are we entering some sort of darkest timeline where Tony has instead led to Rodney's comedic try-hard personality? Are all of these flat Tom Brady, Michael Jackson, chicken parm, and picking up girls at the carnival wannabe jokes just a pathetic attempt at living up to Tony's entertainment value? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, Ryan, it's appropriate that I should ask you a Dan Harmon-based question. Have we entered the darkest timeline of Survivor? That did the Tony effect create people that are just trying to make jokes and be bigger than life and are falling flat on their face?
I think that's really Rodney. I don't know that he even knows who Tony is. I think that's just who he really is.
I agree. I don't think that this is the darkest timeline, and I think that we're putting too much stock in what Rodney is doing and saying that that's a thing that's happening.
I didn't really connect those two until now. I mean, I guess I see the similarities. Rodney's like a misogynistic version of Tony, sort of, I guess.
Maybe like a young Tony. He's the young lad version of Tony.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I pulled the sound clips from what Rodney was saying at that point in the show. Are you up for hearing?
I want to hear it again.
Hearing a little Rodney. Okay, here we go. Here is the best of some of the best of Rodney from last night.
I'm the leader. I'm going to be the leader no matter what. I'm the Tom Brady here. If I step on the field, right, all business aside, I'm Tom Brady out there. These bros just don't know what they're doing. They came into this game, I don't know, with no strategy at all. So what's going on right now is me, Dan, Kelley, and Mike, we're a strong four. So bye-bye, Lindsay. For anything you do, you got to be a smooth criminal like Michael Jackson, baby. Lindsay's saying so much disrespectful stuff that I've been holding to that. And if you back home, I think I'm going to fly her hand and spank her like a bad baby.
Whoa. By the way, that was not like a super cut that I made. That was literally 32 seconds of the show.
Just straight?
That was straight. That was not a super cut.
I wondered why the music sounded so perfectly smooth.
Yes, like Michael Jackson, like a smooth criminal.
Yeah.
And to Rodney, I think we have to give him a...
Just shut up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like the Tom Brady. Who is the Christian Ponder of this season, Ryan?
You really went for my weak spot there as a Vikings fan. Good choice.
Who is the Teddy Bridgewater? Who's the Teddy Bridgewater of
Teddy Bridgewater? Okay, well that's easy. It's Tyler.
Dale already said he's the Russell Wilson of this season.
Okay, I can't choose Tyler.
Yes.
Man. But he's quiet. He has small hands, just like Teddy. I guess, let's see. I love Teddy Bridgewater. We'll see if he's good. So maybe it's got to be someone I'm not quite sure of yet, but I think they could be good.
Okay.
I'll go with Kelley.
Kelley. It could be. Now, why did Teddy Bridgewater get tested for concussion this year?
Not yet, but I think he might be an undercover cop.
Okay. When did Kelley become an undercover cop? Wasn't she a state trooper when the season started?
That was
a state trooper and a bartender?
That was a real surprise to me because there's a big difference between a state trooper and an undercover cop.
Right?
In terms of being good at games like Survivor.
Right? I mean, since when did she become an undercover cop?
I don't know.
I didn't think that state trooper is the same line of the police that does undercover police work.
I don't know. Maybe Survivor didn't want her to say, but then they wouldn't have put that in there. So I don't know.
Yeah, she's an undercover state trooper. Again, I don't know the details of what that job requires.
Yeah,
but I didn't think I thought the undercover state trooper is when they have the police car behind the billboard so they catch you speeding and you don't see them. I thought that's the undercover state trooper.
Yeah, or she's like a roadside assistance truck going around posing.
Oh my god. Okay. All right, so let's get away from. I know that there was a lot of voicemails about the Max and Shireen stuff, but let's bounce around a little bit and talk about some other things that actually happened on the show. Let's play a question about Carolyn and her game, and this is from Kayla.
Hey, RC, what's up? It's Kelley from Canada. Did anyone else notice that Tyler called Jeff Probst JP like they were college frat bros? Anyways, my question is Carolyn the new Chaos Cass? Is she Chaos Carolyn? Because just like Cass, she flipped on her allies and went from solid in a majority alliance, assuming they had Kelley, to the bottom of this really tight threesome. I don't know. And then she had some more confessionals about her reasoning. She, this person's swing vote, I'm the swing vote. I think she should have tried to stick it out with her allies so she could meet up with Tyler and Roxanne at the merge. And then those three are still majority over Max and Shred. Let me know what you think.
Okay. Chaos Carolyn, and please, Kayla, please don't call me RC. Don't call me RC. Kayla, does she have a point about Chaos Carolyn?
She has a great point.
Yes. You're buying Chaos Carolyn.
I mean, in the sense that it was a bad move, like Cass's move.
Oh, how dare you. How dare you.
I don't think it was a good move. The biggest problem I had with it, and it maybe was out of her control, was letting Kelley know. Because she could have been in with a tight 4, but now it's like a loose 5.
Mm-hmm.
If she doesn't tell Kelley and she lets Kelley, screw up and vote with Max and Shireen, it could have benefited her more being in a tighter 4. But I only say that because I think this tribe's probably going to lose a lot of immunities. I've been wrong about this whole season, so who knows?
Yeah. But, no, that's a interesting note about she was the one that told Kelley?
It was a big group thing they were talking. I went back and checked this because I had that thought, and I don't think it was in her control maybe to not tell Kelley.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was just something that was unfortunate for her as opposed to a mistake. But
okay. Yeah, I think she was so eager, though, just like the actual cast, to sort of burn Sarah. I think that in the same way, she was so excited to get rid of Max and Shireen.
Yeah, she did take a lot of gleeful pleasure in that.
Yes, she definitely did.
So yeah, I don't think it was the right move. I think she should have stuck with Max and Shireen. And then, like Kayla said, try to get back with Tyler and Joaquin, who seem like they might not be going anywhere.
Yeah.
And they have that 5, and then she's in a 3 out of the 5 there, very, very clearly. Plus, if everyone hates Max and Shireen, I mean, it's too early to be thinking about who you're taking to the end, but but they're a good shield for you if you're in their alliance.
Like on Big Brother Canada.
Yeah, I'm making an arm symbol right now.
Yes. You know, it's funny that what Carolyn did really impacted Joaquin and Tyler's game. Now, again,
Yes.
I don't know if Joaquin and Tyler are going to see this and be like, oh, great, we hate Max and Shireen. It didn't sound like Tyler hated Max from my exit interview with Max today. But now those guys are going to play from a minority position the rest of the way. Like, there's no chance now that white collar becomes the dominant tribe after the merge. Like, now she's almost forced them into playing, joining up with one of the other tribes.
Yeah. I don't know if there's no chance. I kind of agree. I mean, I mostly agree with you. It's a very, very low percentage chance. But yes, I do agree with you.
Yeah.
They do it. They're already playing sort of as outsiders, as a twosome against a foursome.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. But I kind of had that tribe, if I may digress a little, I kind of had it pegged as sort of Joaquin and Tyler versus Dan and Mike, and who can get, which of those two power alliances can get the majority of the remaining three over. But it looked like from the next time on that Sierra might be back in.
Yeah. That's going to be very interesting to see.
Despite Dan's best efforts to keep her out.
That's right. All right, let me play a question about Joaquin and his spot in the game from Zach.
Hey Rob, this is Zach from Sydney, Australia. After Sokim was eliminated, there was discussion on whether or not Joaquin was in fact the Joaquin dead. Since then, he's been swapped into a minority on his new tribe and has shown himself to be a strong competitor in the challenges, which I think spells trouble at Merge. Could it be that Merge boots are made for Joaquin? That's just what they'll do. One of these days, Rob C will do his exit interview.
Ryan, as a musician, did that kill you?
That was brilliant.
Yes.
I love every second of it.
So, are Merge boots made for Joaquin?
No question. No question.
Yes.
You got to get rid of the guy. He's already shown he can be cool, calm, and collective in most situations.
Yes, the three C's.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be thinking hard about taking him out as soon as I could after the merge. Yeah, I think he'll make it to the merge because he can win challenges. Although that tribe doesn't really need much help.
I just can't get over the fact Max Dawson is gone and Joaquin is still in the game.
I know.
This is not how I thought that was going to go. Yeah, Max is gone, and Joaquin and Rodney are about to become best bros forever.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yes, greatest alliance, not since Reynolds and Eddie in season 26.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think those
guys were a lot more likable, though.
Yes, I think that those were like the clean cut, like guys. These are like Reynolds and Eddie. These are the guys that they don't really want people to know they hang out with.
Yeah, they're the kind of guys that pick up chicks at a carnival, right?
Yeah. Who's picking up women at a carnival?
I don't know.
Who are these carnies?
Yeah. I'm going to recommend that to my single friends.
Yeah, go to pick up women at a carnival.
Never know.
Yeah, I guess if you could like win one of those games and get like one of those big stuffed animals, I guess you'll have like the pick of whoever you want. That's sort of like the Bachelor. It's like Carnival Bachelor is, I guess, like you win like lots of like small prizes, and then as you advance, you like give away like the bigger teddy bear to like the last person you pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Museum. There was carnival and museum, right?
Yeah, museum, sure.
what an odd pairing of places to meet someone.
Yeah. Who is Rodney picking up at museums? The girl that burned him twice?
That's an even crazier question than who he's picking up at carnivals.
Yeah.
He fits in at a carnival.
Yes, he does fit in at a carnival. I'm not sure about at the museum. All right. Let's do another question. And I have a question from a Michael in Texas.
Hey, Rob, this is Mike from Survivor. I know you're a hard worker like me, and you've been working hard at imitating my voice, so I have a recommendation for you. All you need to do to imitate my voice is do a Super Dave Osborne impression, and everything should come out fine.
Yep. Funkhauser. Super Dave Funkhauser. Yeah, he does have that. It's like Funkhauser with a Texas accent.
Yeah, I feel like I need to give up trying to do it because I have all to do to not have a sore throat with all the podcasting I do, and the mic impression is just way too strenuous on me. The juice is not worth the squeeze, to quote Al Christie.
Yeah, it's deceptively hard too. It seems like it's going to be easy because it's so distinct, but I think it's tricky. It's a tricky one.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let me give you one more question, and then we'll get into talking the what happened on social media. This is from Amanda.
Hi, Rob. This is Amanda from Pennsylvania, and I'm also a long-suffering Mets fan.
Very sorry.
My question has to do with something Max said after the tribe shuffle, where he mentioned Shireen being an excellent cook. Could this skill have helped the group decide to keep her around? How vital is it to have someone on your tribe that can prepare Survivor delicacies? I'd love to know what you think. Bye.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Now, do you want to eat what Shireen is cooking?
I don't know that I've ever had rabbit. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm sure on Survivor, you'd eat a rat on Survivor.
I would eat anything.
Would you eat a lizard?
If the option is chicken, fried chicken, or get an immunity idol, I think I would probably get the immunity idol, but I'd eat anything else.
Yeah. I want to play for you the clip of Shireen talking about how she learned to slaughter the animals, and then what Joaquin had to say about that.
I learned how to kill a chicken for Survivor. I watched the video and then I talked to a farmer all about it, and then I slaughtered a rabbit. Which is different, very different, but it desensitizes you quite a bit.
Shireen says that she slaughtered a bunny rabbit. I was like, oh, really? First thing that came to my mind was like, oh, sociopaths, like, first thing they start doing is, killing small animals. She probably started with a mouse at like 14. She's at a rabbit right now by 29. It's just insane how she tries to justify her psychotic ways. It's like, all right, Psycho, you stay over there.
Now, is that fair? Did you think that Shireen is a sociopath?
No.
Yes. You don't think that she is that she has tendencies that she's going to be a serial killer?
No. I mean, it's this idea that if you think you're going to be on Survivor, if you know you're going to be on Survivor, go out there and try everything before you get there. But now I'm thinking maybe it's better to just forget about Survivor for 3 months before you go.
Yeah, it does seem like the people who do all this prep for Survivor are the people that tend to be all the early boots.
Yeah, I don't know. But is a rabbit a good proxy for a chicken anyway?
I don't know. Do we need to consider the fact that, do we think that there's a chance that Shireen could be like a Dexter?
Yeah, is she going to graduate to killing humans while on the island?
But Dexter, as in she only kills people that deserve it. She's killing for good. She's found there's she has just cause.
That would certainly make for an exciting season. I'd love to see it.
Maybe that she's gonna vote people out when that's why we're seeing everybody sort of mock her as a super fan, and then she has just cause, and this is sort of a little bit like a Kill Bill type story.
Yeah, this is her origin story.
Yes, the origin story where she's abused by the other kids who mocked her for dissecting animals, and then hell has no fury.
I would love to see it.
Joaquin is gonna wake up in cellophane one night, and then try to smoke it, Joaquin. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe this will snap something in Shireen.
Love the origin story of Shireen. That could be very good.
Yeah.
Let's segue into a great job on the voicemails, everybody. Of course, you can send in your voicemails every week after the show to robinswebsite.com/voicemail or RHAP. All right. Let's talk about the week in Survivor birthdays. Of course, I like to check in and see what survivors are celebrating a birthday each week. And I can also let you know, Ryan, that the following people I'm going to tell you about, these are all Pisces. These are all Pisces here.
What a coincidence.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Everybody here on this list is a Pisces. Holly Hoffman has a birthday.
Oh.
She is going to be 49, Holly Hoffman, on March 15th, Ides of March. So she already had her birthday.
She's already 49.
Wu Wang, that he had a Ninja Stealth Mode birthday on the 16th. Zoe Zandakis, born on St. Patrick's Day.
It's a great day to be born.
That is a staple of work hard, play hard, that you're born on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Also 49. So very close to Holly Hoffman. Mitchell Olsen had a birthday, also on St. Patrick's Day, and Survivor Cagayan player and Chicago resident Alexis Maxwell, also born on St. Patrick's Day. And now looking ahead to the 20th on Friday, and now officially this is an Aries. Betsy Bolin. You remember Betsy?
Vaguely.
From Survivor Samoa.
You have to remind me.
Yeah, okay. Not sure if she's an undercover state trooper also.
I should have guessed that she was from Samoa because I didn't remember her.
Yes, that's right. All right. So, let's talk about the Survivor social media and the Survivor tweets. And we're going to debut a new jingle for the Survivor tweets, which I have not heard yet.
You're in for a treat.
I'm in for a treat or a tweet? Okay.
Ooh, that's a good rhyming word. I need to remember that.
Yeah, remember that. Okay. Here we go. Here is the debut. You want to set this up?
No, just play it.
Okay. This is the debut of Ryan's newest jingle for the Survivor tweets.
Tweets, baby, tweets. Survivor tweets. Better than drinking water that tastes like Max's feet. Tweets.
Boy, Dale said you'd be fine if you drank that water, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you would be fine.
You'd be fine. The wart is concerning.
Can you get warts on your mouth? I suppose you probably can.
I believe you can. I'm lucky to not know, but I believe that. I mean, that's really one of the top two places that you'd be concerned about having them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just give it another boil, right? No pun.
Which kind? Which kind? All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of boils and boiling, Eliza, we got to start off with Eliza. She tweets discussing how we make those 10 eggs at #NYC, #wine and cheese. Eliza is using the #wine and cheese now. That's exciting to me.
That's great, yeah.
Discussing how we make those 10 eggs at NYC wine and cheese, and we all agree, hard boiled. Don't waste any egg. Are you on board? You think that's the way to go?
Absolutely. I mean, it's also tastes better for me. I wouldn't fry them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
crack them in the pan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you have olive oil or some sort of ham to put on the pan.
Yeah. Hard boiling does take longer, so if you're really hungry, maybe you want to get right into it.
You could hard boil eggs in the same pan that somebody put their dirty feet in, and that's fine.
Yeah,
it's not gonna.
This is the shell protecting you.
It's a protective shell. Okay. And then Max Dawson responded to Eliza with raw.
Yeah. Well, didn't Shireen eat one raw?
Did she?
I saw a secret scene of that, maybe.
Oh my God. What a lunatic. Well, no, is she making breakfast like Dexter also? Is that part of the opening montage? Or Shireen
Nikki cracks an egg?
Yeah, Shireen breaks the egg. Wow. And she eats a rabbit for breakfast.
Poor Shireen.
Poor Shireen. All right. So again, and if Shireen is a serial killer, that I picked her to win the season, so I should not be one of the first people to wake up in the cellophane.
Maybe that's the twist, the big unknown twist.
Is that the twist? Oh my God!
Someone is secretly a serial killer.
Yes, that would be a whole different podcast. Okay. So Eliza also then tweeted, why not kill the rooster first? Hashtag no collar, hashtag no smarts. Yeah. I didn't know Eliza was big on the farming.
Yeah, well, is it just an urban legend that you need the rooster to make the hens lay eggs? They need the rooster around? I've always heard that. I don't know if that's true.
I'm not sure exactly if that's the case.
Someone call in and tell us.
Yes. I mean, Eliza did play in Fans versus Favorites, which I think might be the only season where the actual the chicken made it to the end of the chicken made it to day 39. like an actual chicken. They let one of the chickens go in the end.
Expert, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She also tweeted, Rodney kind of rhymes with misogyny. No, that's a sort of. Can you rhyme that as the rhyming song expert?
Yeah.
Could you rhyme Rodney and misogyny?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do we need a bumper for Rodney misogyny?
I wish I had thought of that one. Misogyny almost rhymes with tweets. I could have done that.
Is that the case? What?
Back home, I grab her by her hair and spank her like a bad baby.
Misogyny.
Poor Tom Brady.
Poor Tom Brady, yeah. I'm sure he was very upset. I bet the guys are giving him a good ribbing as the next mini champ about this. I hope that he didn't have Rodney in the Patriots survivor pool.
I hope not. Although he did mention Tom Brady in his interview, so how could you not choose him at that point?
Yes. Maybe we could have like some sort of like a buddy comedy type movie with Rodney and Tom Brady. What was that movie, Celtic Pride, where like Damon Wayans got kidnapped by the superfan?
Oh, what was that?
Yes.
Oh, I want to see that now. I wonder if Rodney is going to have like long flowing hair at the reunion, like Tom
Brady. Yeah.
All of a sudden.
And Uggs, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Eliza also says, "Ooh, Shireen seems to be so pissed sitting out. That was an Eliza eye roll right there." Do we have to worry about Eliza too with animals? Okay. And then here we go. All caps. Eliza says, "I just lost all respect for Max. Period. Astrology? 3 question marks. Seriously? 2 question marks. Astrology isn't real. Period. Hashtag Survivor."
I agree with her there.
Yes.
That was a bit much for me, but she was on fire.
Yes, on fire. As
always.
Every Thursday. Okay. Rupert's tweets were not quite. There's a chance that Rupert may have gotten some feedback about he actually is
the worst news of all time.
He's actually tweeting about the blue collar tribe, so maybe he might have preloaded some stuff, but he did tweet, "It's amazing how many people play this game with major injuries."
That's good. I mean, but the injury was on the next time on, right? So he could have preloaded that a week ahead.
That's true. He could have watched the preview. Okay. Rupert also says, "Anytime you're that confident, you're done. Trust me."
That's good.
Okay.
That's good, man.
Okay. Stephen Fishback tweeted, "I may not be an angel, but when I settle down, I want to find one. I don't even know how to comment."
I love, man, Rodney had so many great one-liners from a character perspective.
Yes.
That was just one of many.
One of many. Steven also said, "Embers are totally getting a winner's edit. Ha ha ha, JK, but Joe is."
You think so? I remember Steven got really upset with Dr. What was his name, Ben, last season.
Yeah.
He cleared Missy.
Yes. Well, that's because he lost the Survivor knowing his know-it-all bet on that.
Shouldn't he have been as upset for clearing Kelley this time around?
Well, he didn't have any skin in the game on this one.
I guess not.
Yeah. Also, Steven tweeted, "So it's actually easy to remember the new tribe names: the Strong Tribe and the Weak Tribe."
Yeah.
Okay. Sophie tweeted, now I recognize Will. He's famous. Dance again."
There you go.
Yes. Okay. Jervis was tweeting quite a bit last night. And this was sort of an interesting night of tweeting for Jervis. Jervis started off tweeting. He said, "Woman down, woman down. Damn, Kelley, I bet you were seeing pink hearts, orange stars, yellow moons, and green clovers. Hashtag Lucky Charms, hashtag ouch."
That's a great tweet, and it seems like it's way over 140 characters.
No.
He listed them all out.
He wordsmithed it. He got it. All right, so Jervis tweets to Max Dawson, says, "Didn't I tell you about that alone time in the ocean? They're all plotting on you, son."
Yeah, he's right.
Jervis also said, "That lump that Kelley took is affecting her game. You're concussed, sister."
Oh, man, that's good.
Then Jervis said, "Chicken parm and tuna sounds good to me, Rodney." So Jervis is in on chicken parm and tuna.
I saw that tweet, and I actually agree with him.
You would eat chicken parm and tuna?
I would. They don't sound that far off from each other for me.
Yeah.
It needs to be something very strange, like unexpected. I don't know. They're both salty, I guess. So I can go with that. I could go with that.
I actually got some negative feedback last night that we had a mention of chicken parm, and I did not bring up Gina Marie from Big Brother.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Like, that's it, Rodney. You're out. You don't get no chicken parm.
I'd love to see those two together.
Yes. Oh, Rodney. Oh, they should get married. Yeah. Do we know anybody that can set up Gina Marie and Rodney from Survivor?
It's only a matter of time before they run into each other at a carnival, to be quite honest.
Oh, I think we just figured this whole thing out. All right. Now, here's Jervis then tweets, if at Rob Cesternino, and here I'm minding my own business here. I'm not tweeting to Jervis, not even, I didn't mention Jervis on any podcast. Jervis tweets, if at Rob Cesternino, 2, a shot to the head, and I asked him how many fingers I have up, he would probably say, Wednesday. What is Jervis talking about?
Does he know something that I don't, Rob?
Turn out to me nice indeed. What is Jervis saying to me?
Just a slam out of nowhere on you.
Slamming me over. If I had a concussion and they asked me how many fingers I was holding up, I'd say Wednesday?
Maybe it was some good-natured ribbing. Maybe he was pulling a Dan. You should be glad you didn't call your mom a whore, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, Jervis, he also tweeted, "I like Lindsay's face tattoo, Rodney."
Yeah.
He says that, if Rob Cesternino, T.O., did not took, if Rob Cesternino 2 a shot to the head, and I asked him how many singular, I have up, he would probably say Wednesday. And then
why do you pick on you? Maybe because he thought you could handle it.
I don't know. I wrote back simply, "Whoa."
Yeah.
And he replied to my whoa with, "I'm just saying." What are you saying, Jervis?
What are you saying?
I said, "Have I been concussed? Did I? I don't know. Is he confusing me with somebody else?
Maybe he thinks you're particularly sensitive to concussions.
Why would I say Wednesday?"
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what Jervis is talking about.
I don't know.
It's a real turnout to me nice.
I mean, there's only one way to prove that he's right, but it's not very fun for you, Rob.
Please no. Please no, thank you, Jervis. I don't know if I want to get a concussion. But yeah, I don't understand. This is a couple of weeks in a row on the podcast where we skipped the week where we were in New York, but first Sugar came out after me, and then Jerry attacked me on Facebook, and now Jervis is testing my concussion protocol.
They're coming at you.
Rob. Okay. All right. So let's see. I have tweets from the actual survivors. Shireen tweeted to Max Dawson, "I'd have peed on it if you had asked." I find that believable.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. I thought, he got stung by a jellyfish. Well, here comes the pee.
Yes.
Someone's going to do it.
Yes. Okay. Tyler Fredrickson, the T Freddy, says, guys, just got a call from CBS. They asked me to return for Survivor Ellis Island. It's a good line. What do you think? It's like, I feel like we have not talked much about Tyler in this overall podcast, but I feel like Tyler, other than being the Teddy Bridgewater and the Russell Wilson of Survivor, it feels like he knows what's going on.
Absolutely.
We would not call him the Geno Smith of Survivor.
I'm a big Tyler fan.
Yes.
Big Tyler fan.
He's very good. Doing a very good job so far.
Yeah. He's the super fan. Well, I think he's a fan, but he's doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. No, he's been the much more traditional fan of not saying things that are polarizing.
What was Haley's way to play? Because that's what he's doing.
Yes. He's playing by the HF rules, which are, of course...
Don't be a weirdo. Don't be annoying. Don't be inconsiderate. You'll do okay.
Yeah. He's got all three.
Yep.
Is that the new outwit, outplay at last?
I think it is, yeah.
Don't be a weirdo. Don't be inconsiderate. Don't be annoying.
We don't want to lead with that up front, because then people will stop being weirdos and inconsiderate, which...
Jeff,
That's what
I came into this game, and I saw the flags just like everybody else. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be inconsiderate. Don't be annoying. And I played by the HF rules, Jeff. And that's why I deserve to win and be the sole survivor.
Well, yeah.
Survivor Ellis Island.
Win then.
Yes. All right. And then also a Rodney Lavoie, I think I'm pronouncing that right, that he tweeted, and I feel like we should probably have a lot of fun with Rodney and his Twitter this season. Tweeted, 7 billion people in the world, and some of you won't like me. ... Do I need to finish the rest? Hashtag, haters gonna hate. Hashtag, having fun, baby. Hashtag, Survivor.
Hey, I gotta give him credit.
Yeah. Well, the haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
And Rodney is going to
yeah.
What is something that's gonna rhyme with hate?
Man, I need to listen to that song again.
Yeah.
Misogynate.
Misogynate?
Is that a word?
I don't think so. But yeah.
Do I like his message? No. Do I like the way he's delivering it?
Yes.
Yes.
Vehicle. We like vehicle. Okay. So this is some tweets from the RHAP community. Haymaker Hattie has a good tweet. When Max talked about how, he knows, all these Survivor facts, he doesn't know his mom's cell phone number, he said, you know who I bet knows his mom's cell phone number off the top of his head? Rodney.
Yeah. There was a strong undercurrent of mom talk.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes. Josh Wigler at Round Howard, that he tweeted, no need for yellow buffs because these dudes all just pissed themselves. Okay. And Ari Ferrari tweeted, Max's stingray bite is a tribute to John Carroll getting peed on. So there you go. All right.
There you go.
Ryan, we've talked about it all. We've talked about superfans, we've talked about Max, we've talked about Shireen, we've talked about all of the different scenarios here in Survivor Worlds Apart. There's nothing left to discuss.
I think we got it.
We got it all. All right.
Till next week.
Until next time. All right. So very fun chatting with you.
Thanks. It was fun.
So if people want to check out what you're doing, of course they could follow you on Twitter, which is at Ryan Elder Music, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And they can go ahead and search on iTunes for the Snakes, Rats, and Goats on iTunes.
Yep.
Okay. Are you pumped up when any of those animals make an appearance on an episode?
Always.
Yeah. We had a lot of snakes last night.
I mean, every player is a snake, a rat, or a goat, if you want to go down that.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting. So do you think that we will have eventually a 3-tribe season of Survivor Snakes versus Rats versus Goats?
Now you're talking.
Yes. What happens if 3 snakes make it to the end?
That's tough. That's tough. Depends on how many rats and goats are on the jury.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is boy, and Shireen would just have a field day slaughtering all of them.
Yeah. I don't think snakes would take other snakes to the end.
Okay.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be snakes.
That's good. That's good to know. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you for all your contributions to the podcast. Very fun chatting with you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, great. Thanks, Rob.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Ryan Elder joining us on the podcast on another supersized edition of the Survivor podcast. I got some comments from people over this past week where some people said they liked having the podcast split up into 2 parts, where I did one part of the show on Thursday when I talked to Spencer, and then on Monday I talked to Zach Brooks. I don't ever imagine a situation where I would have such a big gap, although, I guess anything is possible between the 2 parts of the show. But some people said they liked having these 2 parts of the show split up into different podcasts. And again, I'm not, married to anything except for Nicole. So whatever you guys prefer, that's ultimately what I'll do. So I'm interested to hear from you guys in the comments whether you feel strongly one way or the other about having the voicemail part of the podcast broken up into a separate podcast. It would be slightly less work in some ways because I probably would be able to get the first part up faster and then have a little more time to work on the voicemails part. But in some ways it would be the same or more work that I have to create a second post and, create a second show page and stuff like that. So it probably would be nominal. And I do sort of like the idea that Thursday is just sort of the crazy day. And then by Friday, it's over with. And then I can move on to other stuff. But interested to hear what you guys have to say and what your take is on that. Of course, podcast awards, I told you at the top of the show, I know that I'm beating this horse extremely hard. But only a couple more days to go until podcast awards voting is over. That's going to be on Tuesday. You can vote daily at podcastawards.com. On Friday night, I'm going to get into Big Brother Canada with Mike Bloom. And then on Monday, I'm going to be speaking with AJ Mass. It's that time. We're down to just 13 people here in the Survivor season, and we will get into our archetypes. Also, over the weekend, I'm going to be speaking with the winner of the most recent season of King of the Nerds. So I'll have a special podcast about that. I did a podcast earlier this week talking about the finale of King of the Nerds as well. And if you guys listen to our other podcasts on post-show recaps, season 4 of our Seinfeld podcast just kicked off, myself and Akiva Winokur. You could hear that this weekend on post-show recaps. Josh Wigler and I are recapping The Walking Dead. Only 2 episodes left in The Walking Dead season. You can join us live on Sunday nights for that. And so much more coming up. Game of Thrones is around the corner as well. So get ready for that all on post-show recap. So I didn't get out a hashtag for this episode. I was sort of torn between something about my concussion from Jervis, but I think I'm just going to go with the hashtag HFRules. I think that's sort of the simplest and cleanest way to go on that. So congratulations to Haley for creating the HFRules and having that be the hashtag for this episode of Rob Has a Podcast. And finally, just a special thank you to so many of the listeners who came on as a patron over the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure exactly what it was that I did, but I'm very excited to have a lot of new patrons come on since the start of the season. So thank you guys so much for deciding to support the show. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/patron. And that's going to do it for this edition of Rob Has a Podcast. So much coming up next week. My guest on the podcast next week, somebody that we haven't had on in a while. I believe not since they did a recap during Survivor Caramoan, but they will be back after a several season hiatus. And the one and only Jim Rice will be the guest on the recap next week. He has not watched the show in a couple seasons, but he is back watching the show this season and wants to talk about it. So Jim Rice will be your recap guest here on Rob Has a Podcast next Thursday. So have a great weekend, everybody. We will talk to you again soon. Bye.